So the clock looks like this.
Bang, 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 bang. We're live.
Oh, you got it on the thing. Nice.
Yeah, so the clock looks like that, So sometimes I do that when I have a panel and you have some people on a panel that don't let you get a word in.
That's probably this one.
It's mostly for Jason, though. It's mostly for him.
I'm an interrupting motherfucker, man.
Oh, it's just hard, right? You get that thing you want to say.
Yeah,
you're just fighting.
But it's okay. It's not like we're three now. Yeah. We should invite somebody else to make sure nobody can talk.
I'm not sure what you were going to discuss, but I did at some point want to share Kamala Harris's the parody concession speech. Did you see that already?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh my goodness!
You know what? We're waiting for people to show up. Go. Yeah. Let's start. If there's somebody that I made fun of over the past 6 months, it's Kamala Harris. So I miss it. So let's do it. It's been too long.
So listen, she's so beloved by the Democratic Party, and you know what? She was there the whole time. I mean, we're going to ignore the fact that she didn't get one single delegate when she ran in 2019. We're going to ignore the fact that she was crowned an Avenger, the vice president, even though that was election by selection. And then election by selection happened the second time, right? In the Democratic primary, nobody liked her, but as soon as she was the nominee, the entire herd was showered with love, like she was there the whole time. So in the spirit of such love, Nico, Rob, this is for you.
That's a nice intro.
We all knew this day was coming. As difficult as it is to accept that I'm one of the most unpopular candidates in history, even with the entire mainstream media machine backing me and working to get me elected, it appears I have lost the race. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Fox, and everyone else that wasn't on Team Joy. Fuck you. Fuck all of you. I can't stand to see a strong Black and occasionally Indian woman succeed. How the fuck did I get 15 million less votes than that retard Joe Biden in 2020? And pardon my language, but everyone knows under a second Trump term, we're allowed to say retarded again. So get off my
Yeah, we are.
Seriously, how the fuck did Joe get 15 million more votes than me? I'm starting to think maybe we did steal that election in 2020. No way his dusty ass did that much better than me. Shit, I bet they got more votes than Hillary Clinton. And we've imported 50 million illegals since 2016. And you know they're all voting for me. As for what's next for me, I'm still in charge of this country until January 20th. You heard that right? Joe doesn't know where the fuck he is half the time. So plan on an action-packed next couple of months. Might even fuck around and invade Canada. Finally, thanks for fucking nothing, America. You made Rachel Maddow and Van Jones cry again. I hope you're all very happy with yourselves.
If you like that, make sure to subscribe and follow for more.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Follow and subscribe to Danny's perfect content.
Yeah, he's Danny's like one of those guys that manipulates videos and
well, I was gonna say that the only problem is hopefully people don't think that's AI, because that's clearly an actual interview that she gave. I mean,
hold on. Hey guys, since we're on this, let's not finish there. It's Friday. Let's make it funny. There was another one I wanted to show, and you reminded me to actually take it. So listen to this one.
This one says, now that the retards are out of the White House, everyone can say retard again with pride.
Why don't we get that down so they can get them going right now?
This one says white people are now allowed to say the N-word once a month, just to really get one out of the chamber. And it must be whispered with a black friend nearby.
That's a big one. We're opening up that one.
This is a good one, sir. Basically says if men have to put their height on the dating apps, women should have to put their weight. That's for quote-unquote equality. She wants to know if he can reach the top of the fridge. He should want to know if she's going to clean out the fridge. It's called the Rosie O'Donnell Fat Pig Act.
That's a big one.
Okay, this one says the LGBTQIA plus // umlaut community is now just going to be called the everything but straight people list. It's really just a time saver.
Well, we're going to try and get it done as quickly as possible.
China will now be called China America.
Well, if China didn't approve it, we could put tariffs on China.
When we take over Greenland, it will now be called Red, White, and Blue Land.
Greenland is a wonderful place. We need it for international security.
This one says if you see a man wearing a COVID mask outside, you can have sex with his girlfriend because Lord knows him is not pleasing her any longer.
People have wanted to do this for years. What's this one?
This says we are bringing back the real gun emoji, getting rid of that weak Democrat woke water pistol bullshit.
We have to do.
I would like that one, though.
Oh, this one's interesting, sir. It says all the fat, bald feminists with 40 cats who hate men, they will now be put in the front lines during any war. They don't have family or kids, just cats, as I said, so let's put them to work.
And that's the equivalent, almost the equivalent of a terror. And they're tough. They're very tough.
If somebody says you have to respect my pronouns, you are allowed to fart in their mouth, sir.
Stranger things have happened. The wind brings it down a lot.
This one says if a woman divorces you and takes half your stuff, she's required to have sex with you half the time. Fair is fair, sir.
If we create that value, why aren't we entitled to like half? Thank you very much, everybody.
Fantastic, dude.
Yeah, that's really
you know
funny.
what I like about that video? Most politicians, they have to, as far as body language, they're almost required that anything that question or they saw coming, they have to look, their face has to look like it's exactly what they thought was going to happen, right? So if Trump were actually asked those questions, do you see a different facial expression?
Yeah. I don't think so, because I mean, a lot of them, this is probably the first time they're seeing those XOs, right? Is when they're going to sign it, because they're not really doing it.
Right. So we were on the subject of Kamala Harris, right? And I'm working on like a blog for my site. When if I ever get around to actually doing it, I might have to hire someone for that. Nico knows I'm a fucking moron. Dude, I'm a moron from Brooklyn. It is what it is, and I'm 54 years old, so that's probably I'm probably stuck like that. And you know, like as far as improvement, right?
You're gonna get along with Rob. Yesterday, he bought new headphones and forgot to charge them before the show. So,
dude, that's like committing that's like planning an armed insurrection and forgetting your guns. What's the matter with you?
I paid for the fucking things. Now I got to charge them too. I don't know. I'm starting to podcast.
A balance, a political balance on this show, and he knows I lean more left than right. But there has been an evolution and a change in what we consider the student party.
That's kind of what I was excited to have you on, because I wanted to. I feel like me and you got that same journey.
Yeah, like when Mitt Romney lost, the Republicans had to ask themselves, "Are we the stupid party?" Right, and they had a come into Jesus moment, and it took 2 elections to make that happen. And now the Democrats, they won't do it this year. They're going to lose again in 2028, and then they're going to have to say, "Hey, we have to do something else other than the 3 W's: women, Russia, and racism." That's going to keep our party alive, you know. So, but Nico, you were on the subject of Kamala Harris. So I'm doing a blog called "The Top 10 Reasons Why She Really Lost the Election." So, and one of the things were she had a sister soldier moment with her voters, but not with the people that were financing her campaign. Like, for example, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. Imagine you're like this kid, and let me do my 60 seconds. Fuck, man. Like, imagine you're like this kid. You're a black guy, right? And you grew up when Obama won the presidency, right? Now you're off to college, and you're inspired by him, and you want to do good things, and you want to affect change, and you believe in that, and then you finally get to meet this guy. Right. And when you meet him, all he's doing is shaming you. All he's doing is saying, you guys aren't doing this. You guys aren't doing that for Harris. You're not doing that for, and you're probably like shocked. It's like the one demographic of people that has always had the party of the Democratic establishment, if not the party, if not Democrats in general. You're not going to find anything lower than 81%, maybe 79 on a Trump year last year. But why would you have a sister soldier moment with the people when you won or lost have always been consistent in plus or minus 3%, but not have a sister soldier moment with Oprah Winfrey? You're gonna give her money to do the show. That what was that stupid podcast, the Call Your Daddy podcast? That cost $875,000 to set up, and that's the money we know about that Harris's campaign paid for, right? you had this opportunity to go on Joe Rogan for free, which we will say for another subject.
Yep.
But one of the top 10 reasons, and I'm going to put this at number 5 because there were reasons that measured their incompetence, if not evilness. Why would you have this sister soldier moment with the people that are that have your back? That's how you lose voters. Right?
Yeah,
but that's how you talk to black men after you lose. Shame on me. You're on your whatever. This is before the election.
Right.
Go ahead, Rob. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I thought that was a massive mistake. She didn't go on Rogan. I think that's sort of emblematic of just what's wrong with the Democrats these days. They refuse to talk to the other side. All they're doing is talking to people that already agree with them. And they have it framed, on the show. Me and Nico talk a lot about how we're trying to get back to sort of this common sense politics where compromise isn't a dirty word. They have it framed. It's almost internalized in the Democratic psyche that just talking to the other side is an evil, is a bad thing. And I think that was a huge own goal right there. And yeah, you're right. I think the way that she just sort of, shamed her sort of constituency, I think 5, that's probably where I put that too. Maybe 6, maybe 4. I'd be really interested to see that list to see what else we got there.
Yeah.
But it's more than that, though. I think you guys are missing the whole.
There's 10 reasons.
No, but the main reason.
All right, now that you idiots have talked, let me explain what's really going on.
Thank you. No, but you guys are trying to seeing it from a left side. I'm looking at it from the other complete opposite way, and there's no way she could have gone on Rogan. That woman cannot talk for more than 5 minutes without sounding like a retard. So there's no way she could have. And that dude, and Joe Rogan is really underestimated. There's a very good fucking guy. Reason he's
a very smart guy.
He's not a smart guy. He's a fucking brilliant individual. But he's he's brilliant, but he's a bro. Like, he's just a gym bro. He's a martial art bro. So he doesn't give a fuck. But at the end of the day, he built the biggest podcasting platform on the planet. Why? Because he is the best conversationalist on the planet. He's capable of asking questions, and he doesn't really care. And even if you don't answer him, he'll put you on your spot. Like, he is extremely researched. So no matter what, she wouldn't have been able to go 2.5 hours. And if you go back, because I created a lot of content around this, she had asked she said to Rogan that she wanted him to come to her. He's like, yeah, fuck you. This ain't going to happen. And they wanted to have, if I remember.
He wouldn't even let Trump get away with that shit.
No.
30. And they wanted
she's bending over
format,
backwards for call her daddy.
Yeah. But she wanted to have a 30-minute to an hour podcast. She wanted it clamped down from his normal 2.5 to 3 hour podcast. So even her knew that she couldn't fucking work her salad for 3 hours. There was no way. She would have just gotten exposed. And that's why she went on that dumbass podcast. But at the same time, you have to remember that if you look at the exit polls right now as to why she lost because of men. And men, white men, black men, yellow men, purple men, brown men, it don't matter the color of the men. We are the reason why she lost, because men are tired of being told by a bunch of white women what masculinity is. So when we look at Kamala Harris after 4 years, she was voted the worst fucking vice president in history. Overnight, she became the party's savior for doing fuck all for 4 years.
That was hilarious when that happened, eh? The day before.
You guys shut the fuck up for 2 seconds. I'm not done fucking ranting. It's like that retarded person that you work with that always fucks up, that never does anything right, and then goes to your boss and like, hey, I deserve a promotion. I deserve a promotion. That's fucking Kamala Harris for you. She fucks up for 4 years. She does nothing right for 4 years, and then, hey guys, I deserve a promotion. So no, she shot herself in the foot. But I don't think I do not believe that the Democrats had any chance of winning. As much as they made it sound like it was, I strongly believe that if it wasn't for the fact that Google was, the algorithm for Google was literally changed just to push all the traffic to her. They were literally blocking Trump. They were blocking the podcast. Joe Rogan made a joke about this when his podcast came out with Trump. You couldn't find it on YouTube unless you looked directly for it. You had to have the link. It was insane. And you tell me that nothing's going on in the back end, right?
Yeah.
It's just she had no chance.
He still got 68
But she had,
years.
but she
I
had no
don't-
chance. No
but
chance.
listen, Rob, you're gonna go next, but I have to cut in for 30 seconds and,
Yep.
and say, Nico, you
Yep.
are wrong. You are wrong. You put the word retarded and
Ho-
come out. the same
Hold
sentence.
on, hold on.
You should
There's a
apologize
button
to-
right here. Fuck you. You're muted, motherfucker.
You heard that? You put retarded and
go
Kamala
ahead,
Harris
Jason.
in the sentence. You owe an apology to retarded people everywhere.
100. You're absolutely right. You know what? I'll apologize to all the retards out there. You guys are right. You're so much brighter than Kamala Harris. No questions about it.
Yeah,
That is true.
apologize.
You're right. You're
Yeah,
right. I apologize from the bottom of my heart, retards. I apologize.
It's just side note. I love that word's coming back. There was no effective replacement for it. You know, there is nothing that takes that place.
Have you ever seen the movie Clerks 2? Like they talk about Porch Monkey, we're taking it back. I'm making a T-shirt that's gonna say "Retards, we're taking it back." I'm gonna wear that T-shirt. Fuck you all. I love that.
Yeah,
I love it.
Continue to wear this.
Life stuff. Get a helmet.
I do want to
Agreed,
talk on something you touched on, Nico. What you said, Dems had no chance of winning. I think it's funny how it works because in retrospect, I think that's so obvious. I think that's so clear. And you see a lot of these people all the time say, you know, oh, it wasn't because of the trans stuff, or it wasn't because of this issue, because she never ran on it. She didn't officially run on it. No, she maybe didn't officially run on it, but we all saw the interview she gave 4 years ago where she's talking about that taxpayer dollars should go towards sex changes for illegal migrants. She never walked that back. And the big picture is that it just treats voters like they're complete idiots, and they forgot what happened. They forgot the last 20 years of Democratic policies. Regardless of whether Kamala said it out loud, the fact that she didn't say it out loud it only proves the point, because she didn't need to say it out loud, because everybody already understands what she stands for with regards to those issues, what the Democratic Party stands for with regards to those issues. And I see the election as a huge just repudiation of everything woke bullshit. And I'm saying that as, you know, a lifelong liberal progressive sort of, Jason, like I think that you are too. I think there's a lot of like I got 40,000 Twitter followers now. A year or 2 years ago, I had 500. I never did anything. I just started talking. You know, my name is the heretical liberal. I just started talking about heretical or yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me.
Oh, okay.
He looks gay in real life, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Well, maybe his husband.
Actually, on that note, just side note, I do want to say to our audience, I know me and Nico look like me and Nico look like twins here, but I had the white shirt on first. Nico changed before the show, so I'm just putting that out there.
The only difference,
Nico, I cut my hair.
Oh Jesus!
Oh shit! Yeah, you got.
You have a fade going, but hold on.
Wow. Yeah.
The only difference, though, between Rob and I, when it comes to the shirt, I'm wearing the male version. Obviously,
well, hey, it's large in women's large.
Yeah, it's a woman's large.
I think the other reason for the fail is that you're bringing up issues that they turned into a team sport. Democrats are supposed to feel this way. Republicans are supposed to feel this way. But when you actually do honest polling, right? For example, I have zero problem with trans people. My only exception is in terms of playing sports, right? We have this Title IX to protect women's sports, and what do? We let that happen. But if every single poll, the lowest percentage of people that mention not playing women's sports, the lowest was 63%. It got as high as 81%. Right.
And as far as polling goes, that's near unanimous.
They tried to make this a left and right issue, and it's a very weak platform to run on. Like, look, if I ran for president, I'd run on the education platform and I'd lose, because education, as noble as it is not a strong platform. I have to have a slogan to go with it, like "Make America Great Again" is a good slogan. Barack Obama,
"Make America Smart Again" or whatever.
You know, change, right? The one where these things are consistent with what they were running on, and that works. But that's not what she ran on. If you remember, she ran on a woman's right to her body, and I thought it's a noble argument as an old school Democrat, but it's a loser. It's a loser for three reasons. One. Actually, clock. Sorry, counting down. Right?
No, I want to hear
one. Let's get that clock. Spin that shit. Reason number one. In 2009, Barack Obama had the House, the Senate, and 58 votes for Democrats, 2 independent. All were on board to codify abortion. 60 votes gets them there. They had 2 opportunities to do it in July and September. They didn't. They sat on it, right? 2, Kavanaugh might have been nominated by Trump, but only the Senate can confirm him. And the deciding vote to nominate Kavanaugh, who's a pro-lifer, was Manchin, who's a Democrat, right? 3, there were 3 candidates that ran in 2022 and 2024 who were Democrats, who were pro-lifers, and Nancy Pelosi financed them to get them over the finish line, including Henry Cuellar from Texas, who ran against a progressive that AOC backed. So they ran him against a progressive. So at the end of the day, it's the wolf and the fox. The wolf, you see where they're coming from, big old fucking Game of Thrones looking thing, and then you got the fox, this little thing, right? And he looks like you can reach out and fucking pet him. Oh, he's cute, but he's got the same teeth to bite your fucking finger off. That's your Democrats, that's your Republicans, and that's why abortion is a loser, because they don't care.
But what else do they have? At the end of the day, if your party is so woke that you have so they estimate that 1% of Americans are trans. That's what the trans population is supposed to be in the US. So you have less than 1% of people, you hear them all the time.
Right.
What else do they have? They're so far woke. What else do they have to run on except to try to vilify Trump or the Republican Party to say that they're all about abortions? You know what? To their credit, but to their credit, Trump had to backstep his abortion stand. He actually went back on his abortion stand and pretty much left it.
I think most people understand he's pretty pro-abortion. He knows he has to not be because he's a Republican. But I mean, how many abortions do you think Trump has paid for in his life? I suspect.
Trump is a lifelong Democrat. He doesn't give a shit about abortion. He did that to get elected. Let's be real.
But it's not.
He was a Democrat until he ran as a Republican.
As much as I have a very strong opinion on this, that it will not be part of this show, all I'm saying is they had nothing else to vote on. They fucked it up for so long. What are they gonna? They're gonna try to go it on economy. They destroyed the economy. They destroyed the inflation. They destroyed the security of their country. They destroyed. They kept on sending. They sent more than 120 billions to Ukraine alone,
which is
over 4 years.
Conservatively,
this is. I'm always gonna throw.
He's trying to be nice. I'll believe it's more.
I'm always gonna throw the low ball out there to make it as good as possible. But
homelessness in America.
If you look at what they've done, they have nothing else to work on. They had to do it about men versus women, and that's what they did. And I would not be surprised, and I've called this about 3 weeks ago, I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happens in Canada, because now Trudeau stepped down, right? He's going to be replaced. One of the 2 main people that are Carney and Freeland. Freeland's a woman, and you know that she has nothing else. She's such a moron. She's on the same intelligent level that Kamala Harris has. And if she's chosen, you know that she's going to run over a feminine versus masculine platform, just like Kamala Harris tried in the US. The only difference, though, is I think Canadians are dumb enough to fall for it.
Rob?
Yeah, I mean,
I have a question for you. I'd like you to shape your thought.
Absolutely.
My question.
I was just going to say, okay, you asked a question first. And then,
all right.
I like how Jason's running this show. Good for you.
I mean,
good job, man.
On the subject matter, they didn't have anything to run on. You, who identifies with liberal politics and conservative politics. In fact, I think the 3 of us, we have sides to pick, but there is a balance, right? What could they have run on? Is Nico missing something here? What could they have run on that was a stronger platform than abortion? Let's examine this with a wider lens.
Yeah, I feel like, and I've been essentially critiquing the Democratic Party, and that's sort of like my point when I talk about my Twitter account. I went from almost 0 to 40,000 just by saying these things. So I know there's a ton of liberals, progressives out there who just completely have a serious issue with the current state of the political left. I don't think, like, what should they have run on? I guess if you had to pick something, I mean, maybe some bread and butter things, economy, education. But the fact of the matter is, I really don't think, as Nico said, I don't think it was possible. I think any Democratic Party would have had the anchor, or any Democratic Party nominee would have had the anchor the Democratic Party for the last 20 years. And unless she was willing to disavow so many entrenched Democratic positions, which she clearly is not, nor would she, I don't think, would she even want to. I don't think they ever had a chance at winning. I think, it's interesting you brought up the polling. You talk about the trans stuff, and I think in what you said, you start to see a sort of a glimpse of the problem, because you're right. The poll, it mattered. It's so funny how the numbers change depending on how the question is worded. You poll something like, do you support trans rights? That's going to be something like 70 or 80%. Broadly speaking, large numbers of people support equality language. But if you, now what people don't seem to realize is, for the trans activists, what trans rights means is men and women's sports. It means men and women's prisons. And
Men and women.
when you separate those out and ask those specific questions, do you believe in that men or transgender female women should be in men's sports? It completely flips. So in that little sort of, we see a microcosm of the big problem. We have all these Democrats who have these lofty ideas, these mantras, these chants that they will repeat, but it's all it's a paper tiger. It's superficial, because when you dig down into it, none of them actually believe anything that they're saying. And so it's a house of cards that completely collapsed. It's been slowly collapsed. You know, that Ernest Hemingway quote about how you go into bankruptcy. It was a book that he said, and he said, well, there's two ways: slowly, and then all of a sudden. And I think that's how what we're seeing in the collapse of the Democratic Party: slowly, and now all of a sudden. And Donald Trump's election was the note that, or the alarm bell that the all of a sudden was happening. And I think we're in the all of a sudden now. But like you said, I think the Democrats need to have this come to Jesus moment. I'm not super optimistic, but a large part of my sort of mission on this show is to try to be part of that conversation, to try to hurry the downfall, quote unquote, of the institutional Democratic Party ideology right now, and to replace it with what I think would be, the correct one, just the common sense version, which is going to be much more center left than it currently is.
Right. Nico?
But is it even, but again, see, this brings up to one of the topics I wanted to talk about today, and it's because of you, Rob, because I know you're a Bernie Sanders fan, so I just want to destroy that ideology even more. But
I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but
you like, you said that you liked him. Yeah.
That's how I would say it. I was a fan, and not so much anymore.
Yeah.
There's a few
situation. They got his wife hostage, Joe.
Well,
so he got his wife hostage, man, because he completely gave in. Sorry, go ahead.
It's so weird, eh? Like I thought this was the one principled guy, in top level
consistent
politics
since the 70s. Like the man was talking about things when it wasn't popular, and he had white hair back then. You ever see that? Sorry, Nico. You ever see that chronology video of him, workers' rights, a livable wage, him talking
it's always
about
been full of shit.
And then they stamped another one in 1988, and they stamped another one in 1998, 2008. And I'm like, wow. And in a society where someone goes back and looks for your worst moment, right, and tries to judge you from some shit you did 30 years ago and say that's who you are today, you're not going to find a whole lot on Bernie.
No,
right? So
he had a track record.
His approach. You couldn't disagree with the inconsistency until Trump came
last couple of years, right? Yeah,
in 2016 existential threat. You ran 3 fucking campaigns on an existential threat, and
he was the ultimate outsider. Bernie, he should have been the one Democrat leaning. I know he's an independent technically.
Nico, the only reason we even registered Democrat was to vote for Bernie. We were in states where you had to be part of the party to vote in the Democratic primary. I was in New York, and I found out later if you registered NPP. No party preference, you could vote in any of them. Because as a taxpayer, we fucking finance all the DNCs and RNCs. We should be able to vote whichever one we want. It's only one vote anyway. But I registered
a weird system to me.
For a cup of coffee. I was a Democrat for a cup of coffee to vote for that fucking guy.
Nice. It's crazy that, like, I don't understand why they're dictating who you can and can't vote for based on your
Nico, before you go into the next thing, I wanted to finish one thing about abortion. The smartest thing Trump said when he said leave it to the states, what a lot of people didn't know what he was talking about, but let's educate our audience a little bit on something called ballot initiative states. So ballot initiative states are when people introduce subject matter on a piece of paper, the same election that you vote for. Ballot initiative states finance prisons, yes or no, right? You can codify abortion if one of the politicians puts it in the ballot, and the voters supersede the policy, and like California is a ballot initiative state. Missouri basically codified abortion through ballot initiative. New York is not a ballot initiative state. So I think a lot of people didn't know what Trump was talking about. So Trump said, leave it up to the states. And if I'm wrong on this, right? And he's like, the evangelicals can kiss my ass. That state decided that. So it's called ballot initiative. And I don't know if you guys live in a ballot initiative state, but I got a huge education from Revolutionary Blackout Network about, because they're like these huge hardcore judgmental fucking socialists, right? That I can't stand their judginess, right? But I fell in love with their truth to power, being honest. Yeah. So Nico, he agrees with you. Nothing the DNC could have done to fucking win this election.
No,
yeah.
No, they screwed themselves for years.
They spent 4 years censoring people. They weren't going to go on anti-war. They spent 4 years getting us into fucking regime-changing wars, which Nico knows. That's my jam.
Yep,
like
it's worse. But it's worse than that, because they're still not stopping with this. Like, listen to this.
All the members of this panel are accepting, including your.
Just so you know, this is about the hearing with RFK when he got in a battle with Bernie Sanders. And this is just, I'm going to show you a post. I just want to introduce it. And I have a post afterwards that I found on my Instagram this morning. I researched it to see if it was true. And everything the guy said was true. But this just shows how bad the Democrat Party is and how easy it is. But it's just... It's easy for the right to make them look silly because they're so fucking dumb. They've went so far corrupt to the left. You'll see. Just listen to this.
Are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry. And protecting their interests.
So let me ask Mr. Kennedy again. If we want to make America healthy, will you assure the American people that you will fight to do what every other major country on earth does, guarantee health care to every single American?
As a Canadian, he does not know what the fuck he's talking about. Like, I'm a Canadian, Rob's a Canadian. The healthcare system in Canada is so fucking broken. It takes you months to get a simple surgery. And even during COVID, they refused people that weren't vaccinated to get surgery. Not only that, but 1 out of 5 person in the US in Canada above 18 does not have a family doctor. I don't have a family doctor. I have no chance of having one. Yet 30 to 40% of our fucking income tax, 30 to 40% of our income tax is spent on healthcare. So it's absolutely insane that you have a guy like him that's talking about this. He's describing other countries. He can't name fucking one that actually does it right, because they don't exist. But let the socialists continue talking.
I'm going to make America healthier than other countries in the world right now.
Will you guarantee do what every other major country does? That's a simple question.
And by the way, Bernie, the problem of corruption is not just in the federal agencies; it's in Congress too. Almost all the members of this panel are accepting, including yourself, are accepting millions of dollars from the pharmaceutical industry. And protecting their interests.
I thought that I ran for president like you. I got millions and millions of contributions. They did not come from the executives, not one nickel of PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. They came from workers.
In 2020, you were these.
Pause. Is he getting to debunking that right now?
He will. The point is that he's going to try to let him explain himself, but he can't. But you'll see how Bernie Sanders shoots himself in the foot because he kind of backtracks and never explains it as time runs out. So you'll see, it's almost done.
Single largest
because I have
pharmaceutical money.
from workers all over this country. Workers,
with a
not a nickel from corporate
Bernie,
tax.
you were the single largest acceptor of pharmaceutical dollars.
No, from workers in the industry.
1.5 million.
Yeah, out of 200 million. All right, but
so he just showed his whole ass.
But hold on.
He just said that he didn't, and he said I did, but it's just a little itty bitty bit. He just showed
just
his
a little
whole
bit,
ass.
just a little bit, money. Just a little bit.
But hold on,
Only a little,
hold on. He gets
just a little corrupt.
He's actually off. RFK was off. He's wrong. It's more than that. And hold on, let me show this. This is the post I saw this morning. This is what started this whole thing. This morning I was just doing the Instagram thing, and then I saw this. There's a post that shows that Bernie Sanders has collected more than $1.9 million. Okay. Basically, the post is saying that it must be a coincidence that the mostly aggressive senators that attacked RFK took millions of dollars from Big Pharma. Here are the numbers. Those numbers are accurate. They're actually true. Bernie Sanders, 1.9 million. Raphael Warnock, 1.7. Elizabeth Warren, 1.2. And Ron Wyden 1.2. But it gets worse because I saw the post. I'm like, yeah, I could write that shit if I wanted to. That doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it true, right?
That doesn't make it true.
But
you can
I put my cap on just in case.
No.
See, no. Look, I didn't even look at this. Look at this.
Wow. Is this opensecrets.com?
Yep, opensecrets.com. You can see they have a summary. I didn't even see that this morning. $11.3 million is what Kamala Harris took from Big Pharma. $11.3 million. She makes Bernie Sanders looks like a socialist. Oh, wait, actually he is. Oh, but $11.3 million. Like the list, like Hillary Clinton, 4.2.
Right.
But I followed, like I actually looked at what the guy was talking about. I did the research and I found this. So it's actually accurate to say that those people, Bernie Sanders included, took millions of dollars. And this is what I wanted to say. When I see this, I believe that this is what should happen. Politicians, doctors, any public servant should be required to wear the logos of the company they accept money from, just like they do in NASCAR.
The NASCAR.
They should have
the NASCAR campaign.
100%, because those motherfuckers are getting rich off of being on those panels, and yet
they're not given $50 million or $10 million for no reason. They're getting a return, right? Like they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
Of course not.
So,
but it's just the hypocrisy to say that they're gonna go. So Bernie Sanders is literally saying that we need to put a national healthcare plan, a public healthcare plan. Yet none of the Democrats ever tried. It's like the Democrats this week saying, hey, my eggs are still expensive. It's like, bitch, it took them 15 years to fuck it up. Like, people are just, this is the stupidity. That's why I'm saying earlier that there's nothing that the Democrat Party could have done to run with an intelligent platform, because the people that are still voting for them are fucking idiots.
That's like America, make America healthy again, right? Like someone's like 50 pounds overweight, and let's say RFK gets nominated. 3 days after his nomination, dude, I'm still fat. It's 3 days.
Oh yeah. The price of eggs are the same as they were yesterday.
You spent your whole life getting the 50 pounds.
As if there's a knob in the Oval Office that says price of eggs, and you can just adjust
been off
it.
for 3 days, and I'm still fat.
But then,
fat fuck. Well, I don't know what's wrong.
So,
fucking,
we talked about. We talked about AOC going on Jon Stewart's podcast or its platform, saying that how she admitted that Congress actually played a stock with insider knowledge.
Yeah.
So they do insider trading.
After the
but the point is that this is the Democrats. The Democrats, like AOC, I dislike that woman with no end. I think she is dumber than Kamala Harris.
Right.
I think she's dumber, but
that's what I was going to say.
I agree with her.
But go ahead.
But I agree. But I agree with her. All I'm saying is, you have the Democrats left and right destroying themselves. Bernie Sanders couldn't even go 2 minutes without. I did it, but it was just a few millions. Like, this is the Democrats.
It's like getting a little bit pregnant. Sorry,
I
go ahead.
want to just jump in for a second. I think we're touching on a couple things right here. I think, like you said, at the end of the day, the way I look at the finance campaign corruption, I almost just look at it. You remember when Trump was accused back in 2016 of not paying taxes? They said he's like, and he basically said the obvious response. Yeah, of course, I pay a lot of people I pay people a lot of money to find all the loopholes that I can. I'd be an idiot if I didn't. This is the system. If you don't like it, change the system. So when I see it, stuff like that, it's not that I give Bernie a pass. I understand. The way I see it is the system is the problem. If we don't like it, change the system. Now, I actually have like a big picture idea that a large portion of a lot of the social divisions and the way the political polarization, the root cause, if you want to go back, like the bottleneck of it all, is back at campaign finance laws. I think campaign finance in America is insane, the way that companies can basically buy influence so out in the open. And what that does is it gives people with a lot of power incentive to have people, the public neck and neck. I think that there's I don't think most politicians and most people give a shit about the culture war issues like 2A rights, like abortion, like gay rights. I think they're basically pitting right versus left, the common man in America, against each other. You ever see that meme where it's like it's got the Uncle Sam guy manipulating the pink-haired they, them, and then the MAGA guy. And basically the thing that you're saying is they're having us fight each other so they don't notice when they pick our pockets. And I think that sorry, go ahead.
And that's the broader point I was trying to make, because we're right now we sound like three Republican space rangers shitting on fucking liberals. But at the end of the day, we could talk about Nancy Pelosi.
Yet none of us is. I'm not even a Republican. So
His little fucking eye patch is one of the biggest beneficiaries of finance campaign and insider trading, right? So Mitch McConnell, I'm sure in his life, the fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, right? Fucking turtle face, right? Well, and now here's the cool thing about Mitch. Demented enough, if they ask him about it, he could just do this. Did you see the freeze up moment? Mitch McConnell.
I saw. Are you talking about the clip where he basically looks like Weekend at Bernie's?
And literally just went. And I'm sitting there clicking my computer because I thought my shit paused. He went.
You got a glitch? No. Mitch is the glitch. Mitch is glitching.
Like Mitch McConnell freezes. Very easy to find. But my point, my broader point with Donald Trump, what you were talking about, something you left out that was very, very important. Donald Trump said, because he was arguing with Hillary, he says you were a senator for 8 years and had multiple opportunities to change this and talk about this and implement it, and you didn't because the people that are donating to your campaign are on the same fucking backroom deal that I am. And people acknowledge Trump's corruption, but acknowledge that he, again, the wolf and the fox. Trump's saying, "I'm the wolf. What you see is what you get."
He's wearing his corruption on his sleeve, and he's saying, "I'm not the problem. The system is," and that's resonating.
Yeah,
but it's not corruption if you're using the system,
right?
True.
But the only reason why I defend Republicans is because I voted for Obama twice. I've only voted Republican once in my life. That was H.W. Bush. 92. I'm in the United States Army. I'm a Gulf War vet. So, you're a soldier. Soldiers vote Republican. That's just something, right? So, 2016, I voted for Stein. It was a conscientious vote, anti-war, free speech, right? But then I found out she was against everything but stood for nothing, right? And I voted for Biden 2020 because the sales pitch of the adults back in the room. He's an adult and then some. I
would have too. I would have voted for Biden in 20.
Voted for Biden. Okay, so there are a lot of people that were like, we decided that this version of Biden is still better than him. There was the room temperature was too hot, and everybody was optimistic, if not hopeful, that the room temperature would be turned down, and politics might not be a huge skew this way or that way, but now everybody can sit and have a conversation because Trump's not in the room. And how did that work out? This whole time they fucking knew this guy. I knew it from 2019. When he ran, and the Democrats knew it, and CNN was saying, get this guy out of the race, get this guy out of the race until Bernie started winning. Then all of a sudden, Bernie was winning.
Get back in the race.
And when he went to Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren stayed in the race to take his votes. And when he went to Minnesota, Klobuchar and Buttigieg dropped out to give Biden the votes. It was, and South Carolina, no one even knows where those votes came from. It was this huge, absolute screw job of what happened to him, to this guy who's suffering from the worst case of fucking Stockholm syndrome. The guy is in love with his captors, man. You know, but this is why I don't trust Bernie anymore. You're in love with the people that's been greasing you up and giving it to you for fucking 8 years straight, dude. Why are you cucking for these people? And what happened to your democratic socialist values? Not socialist, not communist. What happened to giving everybody a chance and a fair shake, or the rich paying their fair share? All of these things are acceptable sales pitches.
That's why I used to. That's the stuff that resonated with me when I, a couple years ago, when I was like, oh, this Bernie Sanders guys, he's really sort of speaking. I thought, and I think me and Nico have talked about this. There's a big reason why I think Trump is sort of at his apex right now, even among people who, like, even I sort of, as a progressive, somewhat, I don't have TDS, but just being in the room by it as a lefty the last 8 years, it has certainly rubbed off onto me. A part of me just instinctively wants to dislike him, but as I've sort of intentionally sort of just come across with a blank slate, I figured, okay, I'm just going to assess the guy and what he does. I'm not going to listen to the media, what they're telling me they think he's doing, just what he actually does. And I can feel myself, I still would never say I like the guy or I'm a fan, but like I get a lot of the appeal. And I think a lot of it is just the public is just fucking starved for a politician who just means what he says and says what he means. Everybody, they're all just triangulating their fire and trying to focus on think about what the last focus group said. And, they want to say something in just such a way that it appeals to 60% of that demographic while not offending 20% of the other one. And go ahead.
Nico, they might be starving for this podcast. They just want a fucking honest conversation. All three of us could be wrong. All three of us could be wrong, but we're not wrong pushing an agenda.
No, we mean what we say. We say what we mean, and Trump is the closest thing to any politician doing that. I thought Bernie had that in him a few years back. Trump is the closest thing, and that's why he's resonating with people who are not typically right-wingers or conservatives because of that. There's such an opening for a common sense left Fetterman, maybe I see glimpses of it with him, just someone who's just fucking sick of it all and just throws in the towel and says, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to say what I think. And if my career crashes and burns, so be it. I think that guy or woman is going to be rewarded for it.
It's not going to happen.
There's unlimited time. It's not going to happen.
But it's not going to happen. Just before I answer this, I just want to say Bat Captain 01 saying that Bernie was a socialist but became a globalist, which is why socialists hate him now. There's no difference, bro. You read Marxism. There's no difference between a socialist and a globalist. They're the same. They're the same. They want big government to rule everything. So it doesn't matter you do it on the country size or you do it on the global size.
African American and the Jamaican or Puerto Rican and the Dominican are the same thing. They're not the fucking same thing, man. They're significant.
Between a globalist and a socialist, there's just a scale.
And that goes back to the identity politics, right?
No. But hold on. We can't talk over each other like that because nobody's going to understand anything. But all I'm saying is, Marxism, it was the beginning. Socialism and communism comes from Karl Marx. That was his brain baby. Same thing as wokeism that we see today that just destroyed the left. That just destroyed but it is Marxist in nature, is what I'm saying. So the whole of course it is. Of course it is.
No,
brother. I think when we're using terms like that, we should always define specifically what we mean, so that we can all be on
this right there would explain to you where wokeism comes
Marxism,
from. And this is a Marxist. This is a big fan of Obama.
When people hear Marxism in political discourse, I think, especially if you're on the left and you've heard that your whole career or your whole life, I think you're not quite sure. It certainly has been used as a buzzword by people on the right. And I think when you say it here, I think it's always easiest if you sort of kind of define what you mean by it. Because I actually have come around to the word Marx. I've always immediately dismissed it as sort of right-wing kookery. Now I see it as more a rejection of the norm, a rejection of, not just because, there are sometimes things from the norm should be rejected, but you need to take it as a case-by-case basis and look at it. Marxism, to me, seems like a wholesale rejection of the norm for the sake of rejection of the norm. And that's just an entirely nihilistic ideology that that is why I think you're saying it's, the brainchild of wokeism, because wokeism basically took that idea and ran with it. At least that's how I see it.
Wokeism,
Marxism's
origination, but let's stick with Marxism.
No, but one defined the other. Marxism is simple. If you want to break it down to the simplest denominator, give as much power to the government as you can. You want to have Big Brother. That's it. If you want to chop it down, have government take all your decision for you. That's it. If you want to break down what Marxism is, give all the power to the top, and the people you'll be lucky for what the government's going to give you. That is Marxism. If you look at wokeism, is based on Marxism, because once again, if you look, and this is the problematic that the left are going to be faced with, and more to this point where everything they try to do is top-down governance. So they're trying to tell you what you can and cannot do, and they will put consequences to it. You need to do this or else. This is what the left is. This is Marxist 101. If you do not do what we tell you, we will take your rights away. Then if you look at a more traditional right, it's simply build up the individual. It's bottom up. Build the individual so that they create a great society. This is what the main difference is between more liberal approach. That is because I shouldn't even use liberal, because if you look at a classical liberal, or closer to what Republicans are today. But if you look at the two extremes of the left versus the right, this is what the main difference is how do you change a society? Do you force people into submission, or do you bring up the individual to have moral values on which that community can stand on? Unfortunately, the left, or fortunately, whatever, the left, it's a lot easier to press people down and say, fuck you, you do this or else, than it is to build people up. It takes generations to do it. And which is why, if you look at the exit polls from the last election in the US, they're saying that the 18 to 25 generation, the men, are the most conservative men to come out in generations. Why? Because if you look at where wokeism started around the 70s or the 80s, that's about 2 or 3 generations away from today. It took 2 generations to fuck it all up. And now we're at a point that the young men are like, what the fuck is going on here? This can't continue. So this is what we're seeing today, unfortunately, for the left. But unfortunately for the left, unfortunately for the right, because my ways of seeing shit has never changed. And this is why we renamed it.
Changed, Nico.
No, they haven't. No,
but you stayed the same. They changed.
But my views have never changed. They changed. We agree. We agree. This is why, as per your comment last week, we rebranded to the political orphans, because we're not homeless. Guys like us right now, we've been abandoned by the parties. They're like, our parents said, fuck you, you're alone.
Yeah.
And most of the
we've been homeless before. We know what the fuck that feels like.
Yes, but all I'm
that was your brainchild, though. That was your brainchild.
Yeah, but the point in the matter is that the left did it to itself by going too woke, by going too Marxist. And there needs to be a fair, and that's one thing that Rob and I talk about all the time. There needs to be a healthy difference between the left and the right. There needs to be a way that we can debate each other while still being polite and having intelligent conversations.
Right.
This is the whole point of this, is we might not agree, and it's okay. But if you look at the root of the problem, we shifted too far to the left. Now it's going to shift to the right, but we need to be careful. Guys like me are going to stand in the middle, and I'm already calling out Trump. As much as if you gave me a choice between Kamala Harris and Trump, I'd vote for Trump 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000. But I will be the first one to say that he's wrong. If he's doing something that I don't agree with, I will call out Kamala Harris. I will call out Trump because neither of them represent me.
Well, you're his boss.
They are not
You're
me.
his boss right now. He becomes president. We're his boss. So we're supposed to do that. And I appreciate and respect that. And finish your thought.
But
Nico.
that's the point. But that's what you need, right? This is why I'm not a righty. I'm a conservative. I have Christian-based values. So it's more conservative, but they're not attributed to a party. My values don't change. The parties change. They keep on swinging from one side to the other because, again, let's not lie to each other. Democrats used to stand up for free speech.
How many black Democrats are hardcore Assemblies of God Christians or Pentecostal Christians? So I'm not sure.
Yeah, but they don't understand.
That favors more the right or the left. Like the black vote, which is 81% of the Democratic vote. Those people, you could go to church for 1 hour, sing your fucking hymnals. These people are in church 4 hours. All right, and that's just the morning, whatever. They're missing fucking football.
I grew up Pentecostal.
Go,
my family was Pentecostal.
About.
Oh yeah, speaking in tongues and
doing fucking cartwheels. You ever seen the Blues Brothers?
Fuck yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
James Brown, have you seen the light? And these people jumping in the air. I'm telling you straight up. I went to I sang choir 6 years for Brooklyn. What the fuck was it called? Coney Island Gospel Assembly. I ran. I was we ran an adult prison ministry. We would go to Rikers Island.
Good for you.
Twice a month. We go to Brooklyn House of Detention twice a month, 6 a.m, and just talk to prisoners. You want to talk about sports? Cool. You want to talk about Jesus? We could do that.
Good for you,
you want to talk about why being here is not a good fucking idea? So I was first of all, it was all men, which Nico will appreciate. No women. It's men's. Second,
the fuck you're trying to say? I like women.
That's why Nico was there.
He's like,
Nico, you'd love it.
I like women.
There's all men. They haven't had sex in years. You'll fit right. You'll love it. It's a buffet.
I love the small dig in there. And he was. See, even your microphone knows you're full of shit. Did you see that?
Microphone look. It went look. So no, but so I appreciate the Orthodox Christianity, and let's before you go, Rob, just put Christianity on this basic level, the 10 Commandments. There's nothing wrong with saying don't fucking kill nobody, don't steal shit, don't cheat on your wife, don't lie on nobody. Take one day of the week and chill, right? Do nothing. I'm good at doing nothing. You good at doing nothing? I'm totally fucking frigid, as you can see by this mic keeps going like this, right? So But before you go, Rob, we already jumped off the woke and Marxist thing, but I think
we do that all the time.
To have a debate about that, you have to start from the proper definition, where you think the definition got hijacked, and then from there we can go. Using wokeism as an example, Nico pointed out, wokeism is a term from black people, basically saying, watch out for white people who pretend to be your friend. And as soon as you leave the room, calling you an N-word behind your back. That's where the term woke came from. Clearly,
that's not what it means anymore. Yeah, clearly it's not worth.
But I wanted to. I mean, because we're talking, we got an audience listening to us, so we agree. The audience to establish that base. Because I forget we're right, because we're just talking shit and we're having a good time, but we do have people listening. But sorry,
but you're absolutely right, though. You're right that it comes from black people. They came up with the woke term, and this is why my other podcast is called Unwoken, because I'm making fun of the woke. Like, you need to unwoke this shit. But I'm talking about the term that it became, because changing a name, just like the Nazis took the swastika, that's a Buddhist sign that's been used for thousands of years, it doesn't make it bad per se. It has a very bad connotation, but the original term woke was not a bad one. I would have been considered woke in the fact that my eyes are open. Do you know what I mean? But this is not what it is right now. They used it and they destroyed.
That's changed. Sure.
Yeah.
What I'm saying by woke,
that it's important to us.
The root, of course.
The pretext.
Of course. 100%.
Can I just jump in there?
It's just that Marxism instead of the wokeism that we know today, instead of using monetary issues, saying that the nots and the have-nots, they use psychological terms now. They use gender, for example. This is what they did, and it's brilliant. If you look at the history of wokeism, where it came from, Marxism is brilliant. Instead of making it about money, they made it about gender an ideology that can be changed on a daily basis because they're not real. They're not based on anything real. It's brilliant if you look at it with
lazy.
Well, that's why they changed language first and foremost.
For wokeism, I'm going to change that definition so it sounds closer to Marxism. I would give people credit if they were fucking smart and not so fucking intellectually lazy on taking.
But it still works.
Changing,
but it's worked.
Convenient.
But it's worked, man.
Keeping one in its foundation when it's convenient. And Rob, please go. But I this is a to be continued because we were actually going.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna jump in it a little bit.
That actually had a lot of colors. I have a question for Nico, but I wanted you to get your question, get your thoughts in.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, like, and I think when me and Nico first were talking about this show and what we wanted
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, way back in the day, back when we were young. But I think one of the things that I was saying is I think we're trying to give a platform for how people with different political opinions can get together, can have discussions. But I think one thing that's important there is you almost have to have, I guess you call it rules or guides about how to do that. And I think at the heart of that, and I've thought this for a while, is if you're going to have a political debate, especially if you're going to use buzzwordy things or trendy words, you really need to first establish your assumptions or your definitions. We need to so that way we all understand what we're talking about. A lot of debate hinges on things that the people having it don't even really, they're not even having the same debate. And I'll just give you an example. We talked about abortion, or we talked about abortion earlier. I'm pro-choice to a point. I think there's a point in the pregnancy where it should not be allowed. Obviously, Nico is pro-life. But I had to use this example when we first started talking because I think at the heart of that debate is your assumptions about what life is and what personhood is. Now, I do not believe that a fertilized egg right away is a person or life. And that's where my entire take comes from. But if we start from these, like I know Nico, because we have talked about this, he does believe that life begins at conception. And I think that's a valid point. I think that's completely valid. But once we establish those assumptions, we realize a debate is almost not really even possible in this area because I understand where he's coming from. If I also believe life started at conception, I also would be pro-life. If I believe that is a human life, then yeah, I would agree with that murder. So I don't think, and this is where a lot of the animosity around, especially the abortion debate, because conservatives are saying, oh, you're a baby killer if you support it, and left-wingers are saying, oh, you care more about a clump of cells than a woman if you don't. And at the end of the day, that entire thing just comes from assumptions where we don't line up. I don't think Nico is a monster at all because he believes life begins at conception. It's a completely valid opinion. I don't share it. But once I understand that he believes that, we really can't have a debate on abortion because the assumptions underlying are different. And that's sort of like a big picture thing that I think is important. That's why I tried to say, like, when we talk about Marxism and wokeism, like, I think we need to first define it. And actually, Nico, I thought you did a really good job in defining that. And the way you described it, I actually agree with you. And that shows the positive side of making sure we're on the same page with assumptions and definitions. Because when you describe what you mean by Marxism, I do agree with that. I do agree that a top-down government, the state taking the place of essentially what we're talking about.
Yep.
We're talking about the state taking the place of the family unit. You know what I mean?
100%.
It is making decisions. And there are times when I think that's appropriate. 100, 150 years ago, if a father wanted to go home drunk and beat the shit of his kids or his wife, that's his right. You know what I mean? The state did not intrude.
Yeah.
I think it is a good thing that the state has taken the authority in some situations to step in and intervene. Now, I think when you talk Marxism or like far woke, you're talking about people who believe that there should be no limit to that. And I think where we're debating with a lot of this stuff, especially once we define our assumptions and our expectations that underline our debate, all we're really debating on is where it meets in the middle. For example, back to the abortion debate. Okay, if you believe life starts at conception, I believe that life, for me, I think it's just I think once a baby is viable outside the womb, whenever the medical establishment decides that it should not be allowed after that. That's my opinion.
Have you noticed in other countries, it's been in other countries, there's like a 20-week thing. Like most countries are sensible about abortion. They're like, okay, this person doesn't have a freaking spinal cord. They don't have a central nervous system. They're just a sludge. They're a life form, but they're not like a person, you know, because
Exactly. And to me, that's the common sense.
Life forms. I'm not going to tell nobody to not suck my dick. Okay. All right. I'm not going to not go down on a woman because eggs are a fucking living thing. Right. So, I mean, we can steer this argument off the cliff, but I really like Nico. His argument was so compelling. You walk away, even if you disagree, you're fucking thinking.
Well, and that's what we're trying. And
hold on, Rob. Hold on. Before you jump, because I had a podcast yesterday with a constitutional lawyer that is not only against abortion, he wants to abolish it. And he's worked on paperwork for 30 different states. It was a very cool conversation for me, not for everybody, obviously. But we came to the conclusion that basically the biggest argument that's going on right now is, as Rob said, you can define abortion on the understanding of where life begins, when life begins. Because technically, as per your...
Not life. Human life.
No, of course, obviously. No, but obviously I was talking about human lives. Right. But what I'm saying, we can specify it to make sure, but this is the biggest conversation that needs to be had, is when,
because that's really what the abortion debate is about, as you say,
Nico,
personhood.
Because the thing is, the hypocrisy is that you look at a lot of states in the US, and I don't know the exact numbers, but if you somehow kill a pregnant woman, it's double homicide. Yet that same woman could turn around and go get an abortion, and that's not murder.
That makes no sense, right?
But hold on, paradox. But hold on. Let's go even further than that. Some people say that you should be able to abort your child after you're preborn. I'll call it preborn. You should be able to abort a preborn 8 weeks down the road. My wife is pregnant right now. I went to an ultrasound. 8 weeks. No, 8 weeks. Okay. Hold on. The heartbeat starts between 7 to 8 weeks. I was at an ultrasound about 7 weeks ago because we were at the 8 weeks mark. We went to try to hear the heartbeat. Bro, nobody can argue with me that that's not alive. There's a fucking heartbeat that you can pick up on monitors. But this is the debate. Again, the debate is not about should we do it or not? Is it alive or not? This is the debate that we're not having. Is it alive? Because I can tell you, bro, I cried when I was sitting there and you're hearing the heartbeat. You're like, oh, Jesus, say whatever you want. That thing, whatever you want to call it, clump of cell, human, fetus, preborn, whatever. That thing is alive. And the thing is if you break down abortion to its most simple denominator, just like anything else in society, it comes down to an accountability problem.
But you just did.
We have no, but hold on. You have
just say one thing.
Hold on. Just let me finish. All I'm saying, it's an accountability problem. Between 1 to 5% of abortions in the US are done for medical reason, incest, rape, which as a pro-lifer, I will never argue. That one I will never touch. I will never say. In my heart, I don't think it's right. But at the end of the day, I understand. This one is not one that I'm ready to debate. But 95%, that means that more than 950,000 abortions happen in the US with a woman that is healthy, that would be able to have that child. This is the problem. The problem is that abortion is used as a contraception measure. It is no longer used because there's something wrong going on. If the woman is going to die because if there's a consequence to her life, you know what? I don't know what I would say to my wife. My wife would take that decision. Because if she wants to carry it to life, her life is, she believes that the child's life is more important than hers, I would not argue with her. Neither would I argue with her that if it's going to kill her, she should abort it. I wouldn't be happy about it, but that's not in my hands. That's her choice because it's her fucking life. But in 95% of the case, and I'm using the smaller of the one because it's closer to 99, but 95% of the case, it is a healthy woman that would be able to carry that child to being born. This is my problem. It's an accountability problem, just like that fat dank, that damn 489-pound rapper Dank the most that is suing Lyft because she's too fucking fat to fit in a car. That to me is the same thing.
Lyft,
We're
yeah.
talking about an accountability
Your
problem.
steering wheel's going right now, but go ahead, Nico.
But no, but it's accountability.
Abortion,
Like,
we're
we live in a fucking world where the spoon made me fat and I need to murder a preborn because I don't want to deal with the consequences. And this is something I say all the time. If you're not ready to have kids, don't fucking have sex.
Oh, fuck out of here, dude. No,
No, bro,
I mean,
listen.
How about use a pill? How about use a contraception? How about birth control?
But obviously,
Yeah, there's
people
ways
are not
to-
doing
there's
it
ways
right.
to not get
But-
pregnant.
How about
But
putting
again,
in their
guys, that's my
Christian
opinion.
married
No,
that
but
you want to fucking pregnant, right?
but guys,
People got on birth
that's
control because of their fake virtue.
that's my opinion. I'm not saying that this is how it should be.
No.
I'm just saying that this is my opinion, and it doesn't mean that you're wrong. It doesn't mean that the other guy's wrong.
Right.
All I'm saying is I keep on hearing from the left that we need to defend the defenseless. We need to stand up for the defenseless. And I personally cannot think of something that is more defenseless than the unborn. I can't. I cannot think if there's something that cannot talk for themselves, it's them. It's just, I'm tired of the hypocrisy that is happening left, right, and center, and we do not call ourselves accountable for our actions. It seems, and it doesn't matter that you're on the right, that you're on the left, that you're in the middle. The average person does not want to look in the mirror and say, you're wrong, you fucked up. And this is why we see what we're seeing right now. So that being said, I can close that massive fucking parable there and just say that whatever you guys are going to say, I'm not here to disagree with you. Those are my opinion, and I'm never going to lack respect to people that don't think like me. It's okay.
I give him an A- for that argument, dude. If I had to like grade an argument, I mean,
Okay.
I know the man's aiming for his 4.0, but Rob, you're going.
Mike.
But
So I'm just gonna say,
I like your argument because it's compelling.
I only brought up abortion. I didn't necessarily want to get into the abortion debate, but what I was showing, and I think what Nico just did with his brief there, shows exactly what I'm talking about. I just use that example of how the debate is completely different when we just sort of first agree on our assumptions and now it's not about you're a baby killer, you hate women, which is just completely unproductive. It doesn't get us anywhere because right now the abortion debate, just like so many political debates, is I'm right, you're wrong, fuck off, you're a Nazi, you're a monster. Whereas now, if we actually give a shit about trying to have a productive conversation, at the end of the day, we're not trying to fight a culture war battle. We're trying to get it right. And so just by defining the debate as really what we're really talking about is personhood. Like you will never convince me a fertilized egg immediately at conception is a person. The argument of a heartbeat, okay, now I'm listening. You know what I mean? So all we're really deciding is when does personhood start? And that's an inherently less contentious debate. It's inherently more productive because we can get a bit of common ground, a bit of middle ground there somewhere. And so it wasn't, my intention was not to discuss abortion because we could do shows upon shows upon shows about it. It was to show, just use an example of how I think debate should be restructured in the political sphere. And I think Nico did a great, because your argument there was compelling. You know, I wouldn't say it convinced me, but you made sense.
But that's not, but as we said, Rob, I'm not here to tell you what to think.
Oh, no, I know you're not. I know you're not trying to convince. Yeah.
No, I'm not talking to you. Stop making it all about yourself. I'm talking to the people that are there.
I'm like my girlfriend now.
But all I'm saying is,
you guys need 5 minutes. I could come back.
My goal.
No, you're
is
up next,
not to
Jason. You're up next, brother.
All right, good, Nico.
But my goal is not to convince people that I'm right or that I'm wrong. All I want is for people to listen to what I'm saying, listen to what you're saying, listen to what Jason is saying, and say, fuck, maybe he has a point. If I can get a maybe, that's all I'm looking for. Maybe. Can I make you question your values? Can I make you question your morals? That's it. I just want the maybe. That's it.
Yeah.
Can I tell you what I got out of that argument that's very, very compelling? In the beginning of the argument, the hypocrisy of like someone assaults or kills a pregnant woman, they can charge you for a double murder, right? That's considered a life form in that case, but it's not considered a life form in terms of abortion. Is you can't respect anybody. I mean, well, you have to, because you have to come from a place of respect to argue with someone, but you walk away, be like, I can't respect this dude if they can't see that. They're because that's not ignorance. That's protected ignorance, also known as stupidity. All right. On a humorous perspective, Nico is the kind of guy that is so hard in the paint for for pro-life. If he were a politician and someone says, so listen, so that means if I'm pregnant, I get to ride in the HOV lane, right? This counts as a passenger. Nico's like, done. And he's like, so listen, so while I'm filing
I'm signing that bill right now.
No, but for filing for tax return, filing for taxes, I can claim this kid as a dependent. Nico's like, done.
Fuck yes.
So,
I agree.
This conversation takes place because there's a genuine respect for someone that's so fucking hard in the paint behind his argument. Though I disagree with your premise on the heartbeat setting as a pretext as the common denominator. Like you said, that's an extended conversation. Mm-hmm. I gotta respect the fucking sense it makes. And I'm going back to this because it's funny, but it's not. How are you gonna charge someone for double murder if they're pregnant? But when it comes to having an abortion, it's not a life form. That's fucking. Come on, man. We're against this argument. But that's
let's go even funnier.
That's an insane, crazy moment.
Let's go even funnier. If you found a clump of cell on Mars tomorrow, right, I guarantee you, all the scientists out there, or we have found life. We're not alone in the universe. But we find that same clump of cell, him and but that's my point. This is hypocrisy. Because if scientists could find a clump of cell on another planet, it's fucking life, bro. We're not alone. Hallelujah. But we find that in
we eat life forms. We're fucking carnivores. So what are we talking about? Life forms. We're talking about human. Let's stick to human because at the end of the day, plants are life forms. We're gonna fucking eat it, right? Cows. I went on a first time I had Nico, I was on a carnivore diet for a month. I was definitely more shredded than this, but man, it felt great. I felt like Nico, even though you can't really feel like him. The guy's got muscles in places I don't have places. You got a place for that? Not with this puny arm, right? No, don't even show that. Like, this is like porno. It's like porno. It's like I'll take an eye out.
No need to pump his tires. He's already up there.
That humorous
that head any bigger.
Like Nico is all for the HOV lane. Nico is all for claiming it as a dependent, and Nico supports the George Carlin argument, all life is precious until the kid is born. How about if someone's pregnant, let's say they wind up pregnant, but no, because we're human, right? Not everyone that winds up pregnant is ready to have the baby. Maybe if all life is precious, she's not entitled to that help and say, hey, you fucked up. Let's have a shotgun wedding. Make sure that there's a two parent thing in this equation, because we can have a whole other discussion about the value of having two parents in the family, right? Yeah. Look, I was raised by a single mom, and we don't get along, but I respect this strong Black woman. That I never met my father, left her with $1. She had to use that $1 to go on welfare. 3 years later, she got this job as a paralegal. She went back to school, raised us at the same time, went to law school, and then I met my stepfather. So she ended up having her own shit together and her own career. So it's not like she got married again because she needed someone. But just because you can do it doesn't mean it's a good fucking idea. And I'd like to finish by this because I see Nico's wheels turning right now. If they don't have a father, a man to look up into in the house, they will find someone, a male figure, to look up to outside of the house. And you don't want to take that chance. You don't want to take that chance.
You don't want to also, my speech when I say if you're not ready for kids, don't have sex, applies as women as men too.
Right. Yeah.
This is the thing. I believe in the nuclear family, and this is my biggest gripe with Marxism. Because if you look at what they do, but if we do, they disconnect you from God, they replace God by the government, and then they destroy the family. It is always what they do. So that's why I call woke, like what wokeism is today, part of Marxism, because those three objectives are always what they do. Disconnect from God, make yourself God, or make the government God, and try to destroy the
But
family.
how many of these people
But
that
this-
are pregnant with a decision to make are Christians?
Say that again. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
More than
I
half
didn't hear
of
you.
the people that wind up pregnant that have to make a decision to have an abortion or not are children.
I am not.
These are not atheists. These are fucking children of God. Because if they
I
were,
will be
a goddamn pill. This whole
brother.
Nico, here's the deal. They believe that you should only have sex when you get married. So they're like, I'm not going to do birth control because of that. But human error, your ability to self-correct is a whole nother conversation. But human error might wind you up in predicaments where you fall short of what we believe the grace of God is.
There's a few things, but hold on.
Happen to be Christians. So what are we talking?
I will be the first one to tell you, from somebody that discovered Christianity later in life, just a few years back, I can tell you that the Christians you see today are not Christians. They like to say that they are, but they do not live what the Bible tells them to do. That is number one.
And maybe they're not Marxist either. But go ahead.
Was that?
Maybe they're not Marxist either, right? Come on. You know?
No, but hold on. You got to be careful when I'm saying that the woke left is Marxist. They don't know that they are. They're not fucking aware. That's why
they're not
card
carrying Marxists.
This is why I showed you this before. This is one of the biggest leftists. A big fan. Hillary Clinton was a big fan of Saudi Alinsky. So was Obama. Like, this is how the Democrats have become what they are today. It comes from here. But the people that are Democrats,
talking about, pick another example. They're the biggest capitalists. They're more fucking capitalist than any Republican you've ever met. The Clintons and Obama. Pick another example.
No. Hold on. Again, you've never read that book.
Right? They read the book. Look, I've read fucking Book of Revelation, but I'm not sure if I want to be around for those times.
But if you go back to Marxism at the beginning, even Karl Marx didn't believe in it. The principles that Karl Marx came up with did not apply to him. They apply to other people.
Right.
That's the beauty of Marxism. It's always about other people and not about you.
You're preaching in the
it's about.
I'm gonna jump in a little bit and actually support Nico's argument.
It's just about being at the top. It replace the government by you. Replace the capitalists by you. It's always there's always
people
and essentially
but it always comes but it always comes down to a few dictating the other. It's always what it comes down to. It always what it comes down to.
When Nico's talking about Marxism, the way you described it, I mean, and I actually agreed with your description of it. I think, Jason, with what you just said, you sort of brought up the capitalists. I think in everyone's mind, there's this direct connection to, Marxism and communism. And that's sort of the economic system of it. But I think what we're talking about power. We're talking about authority, people trying to concentrate a lot of power inside of a few at the top. And I guess the communism that sprang out of Marxism is an attempt to do that, but it wasn't really about communism. It wasn't really about economic policy. It was an attempt to get power concentrated in the hands of a few. And so I guess you could say, yeah, the Clintons maybe maybe not be the best example of Marxism because they're such capitalists, but essentially, if we're talking about Marxism as an attempt to concentrate power, and communism maybe was an attempt to do that, but there's other ways to attempt to do that. Wokeism, I guess you could say.
You guys are misunderstanding.
Hold on.
You're preaching to the converted on what Marxism is as a definition. The disagreement here is that he's conflating Marxism with socialism and democratic socialism, communism, and they're different definitions. That's where the disagreement comes from. So Marxism in the book, which I'm probably going to read because Nico showed it to me 3 times. So 3 times as a rule means you have to fucking
subliminal
read it, right?
messaging.
Oh man, I have a bunch. I have about 50. You should read. Should I start flashing you right now?
Nico has me reading again, and I hate fucking reading. I don't like to read. I know it's like, but right, you're supposed to say, "Oh, I love to read these books. I love to read." Fuck off. I don't know. I don't like to read. But Nico, when I met him, the dude got me reading. Before, if you can hold your thought, I want to do a nice little round thing. What's the book you're reading now? Let's go around the table clockwise, like a clock, like I'm in charge of shit. Look at me, look at my little limp ass mic, like I'm in charge of shit. What are you reading right now? What's the last good book you read?
Yeah, I just finished it a little while ago, but it's Sapiens by Noel Yuval Harris. I think
what a piece of crap that.
Yeah, I know. I only realized the political leanings after I read it. And so, yeah. But take your own advice here, Nico. You know, you got to take, like, the messenger isn't important, right? The message is what's important. The book is a good read. It is not woke in any way.
I'm saying it's a
is
piece
not
of
woke.
shit because it's fucking this thick and I read it all. That's why I'm saying it's a fucking piece of
You didn't like the book?
crap.
I mean, I didn't see it as political at all. It was just an interesting. I see why.
Look at Nico's face. He's like,
but you don't.
Right
but
now.
we have different opinions about like I don't believe God created us. I believe that we evolved over millions of years. And I mean, obviously, if you don't agree with that, you're going to find the book ridiculous. Right. But I
didn't agree. No, I agreed with what you're saying when I read it, because I read that book when it came out.
Yeah, I just thought it was a really good book.
I would have to reread it in order to be able to quote from it, because obviously it's been years. But all I remember thinking is I'm someone that does a lot of research. I don't just read something because you're published doesn't mean I fucking believe you. On the contrary. Right. You will open doors and I'll start researching. But a lot of the things that he says in there are not even true. It's just Nico, people take it for face.
Nico,
for the face.
Well, I'd have to see a reference. I'd have to see what exactly was. I didn't get that. I didn't get that impression at all.
Nico, I have. That's why I said I can't quote. It's just it's the impression. I normally take notes from all the books that I've had, all my impressions and everything. I'd have to dig for it. Right. But yeah, what were you going to ask?
No, Nico, it's the last good book you read. We're going around clockwise.
Yep.
The last book that I
are you reading now, or what's the last good book you read?
Right now, I'm actually the only book I've been reading recently is the Bible. Yeah, I've literally been studying it.
What book in the Bible are you on?
Oh, bro, I've been doing it for a year and a half, almost every day.
No, but
so right now I'm Proverbs.
Reading one of the Gospels, or okay?
I'm Proverbs. I started in Mark last year. I went all the way to the end and all the way to where I'm at now. But I'm studying Proverb. I'm not reading it because I'm a big fan of Proverb, just because if I didn't tell you where those principles come from,
right.
But this is, before people think I'm a religious zealous here, I don't like the church. I don't like what the church stands for. I believe in the Bible because it's a book full of experience in there. I started reading that Bible not because I believed that Jesus Christ saved me, because I believed that it was a psychological tale. You can find an answer in there. Every story's in there. You can find a story that you're going through right now, something that's happening to you, and you'll find a story in that book that explains to you what you could do about it. And this is why I like that book. Like I don't need to read the Bible, although I do believe that Jesus Christ saved me. I don't believe that you have to. I did not start reading the Bible because of that.
Right.
I wanted to understand what the stories were, because I think there's great power in stories. Why I'm such a movie fan, because I love the story. I love the power of storytelling.
Well, but you're talking Old Testament. They have some of the best stories, right?
But the whole way through,
but the Old Testament's got some fantastic stories. But
same thing in the New Testament. Yeah. You look at a guy like Jesus that showed up and started helping people, and they killed him for it.
Yeah,
that to me is like, bro, agree with him or not.
Whenever you think this was wrong in your life, that guy was perfect, and they crucified him.
So I'm like, you know what? If there's one thing I can say, and it comes back to what you were saying, because I have a big problem with most Christians out there that are just Christians. They don't live Christians. They think they are, but they're not.
But and that's definitions again, right? That's definitions.
It's all of.
You read the definition of feminism. Someone that advocates.
You're gonna see. You would see yourself as a feminist.
Around and say I'm a feminist, but not. But I grew up like Dave Chappelle, man. I grew up thinking it was frumpy dyke. Like someone who doesn't shave their armpits, and someone who burns bras, right? So if you grew up on that definition, right? What if you're wrong? But I'm gonna go to my book in a minute. But I wanted to talk a little bit.
I'd like to hear what you have to say.
But 30. I'm gonna set my clock again. Maybe not. I like the Bible because the Bible is like an M16. If you use it wisely, you can protect your family. You can use it to beat folk up with. You can find something in it to choose and be this judgmental character, right? So two things. One, sensationalism, right? David versus Goliath. I don't believe Goliath was 15 feet tall, But if you don't write in the Bible that he's 15 feet tall, if you write that he's 6'8",
He's a big
it's
dude.
not gonna. It's no one's gonna remember the story because me and
It
Nico
doesn't
are
hit the same way.
That guy, I'm 6. That's only 2 inches taller than me. I fuck, man. I fuck
Pussy.
Goliath. I don't even need a
Pussy.
swing shot. I get him with these hands. With what Nico?
Yeah.
Nico's like these hands, right? So,
Yeah.
so.
So you don't think
assuming that
Samson
everybody
killed
believes-
1,000 people with a donkey's jawbone? You don't think he literally did that?
I think he probably killed 25, but 25 don't mean shit, man. You could find
That's
a
so
mentally-
impressive, though, man.
mentally talented kid to do that to a school, right? So, no, but Nico, I appreciate the value. Like, even if someone doesn't believe everything in it, the teaching tools of just being a
Yes.
good person and establishing societies of decency. What our grandmothers taught you: go home, be a fucking decent person, right? I read Matthew 3 times. I read Revelation 8 times. So I dab all around. Of course, Exodus.
What's your religious beliefs? Just out of curiosity.
I
since
grew
we're
up.
talking.
I was born Catholic, then raised Lutheran, then 13 years old to 18, I was hardcore Assemblies of God, Pentecostal, and very much like Nico, I had to leave the church because it was an all-black church, but let's just say it was a bunch of black people that didn't have time to dice up their white people. So even though I was part of the choir, I was never really accepted. You know, there was a lot of there was a lot of racism, not reverse racism because I don't like that word, but a lot of racism. Even though my mother's black and my father's white, and I identify as being black because I am, right, just like Steph Curry is. I'm just a light skinned brother. But to answer your question, the values of Orthodox Christianity never leave you because it makes you, it reminds you that there's goodness in everybody. And sometimes good people do bad things, right? But if you stick to this level of romanticism,
it's always,
yeah. But you understand, when you stick to this, where your virtues and your passions cross paths, that's the conflicting forces, and you obey your virtue. And no matter what the situation is, you stick to those virtues. You're just like a movie, you know, a guy that comes back from something like Die Hard. The guy stuck to his virtue, you know, he survived. He made all the choices that he thought was the right thing, because those choices might have got him in trouble in the beginning of the movie, but at the end, he wound up.
Everyone loves the redemption, right?
Yeah, but my book right here. Let's stay with the Bible, but I don't need a long time to discuss the book I'm reading, so I'll just go on my camera. It is Hate Inc. Okay. This is written by Matt Taibbi, and this is why, and it's basically a book on why up and down politics weaponizes left and right politics to hate each other. So great book.
Have you finished it yet?
No, I just started. I just finished
the vampire squid guy, right?
I just finished the real Anthony Fauci. That shit reads like a novel.
Really?
Like RFK? That's RFK that wrote it.
Yes, Robert F.
I'm going to read this.
Yeah. Nobody's sued. If the book is bullshit, he would have been sued. He would have got because any lawyer would be licking his chops to embarrass him. If Robert F. Kennedy is a fake, right? They would be going out of their way, because let me tell you something. What you tell the media and what you say in a court of law under oath are two different things. So if you read his environmental cases and his lawsuits and him suing Fauci about information on not randomized control studies, but placebo control studies, he had to sue Fauci to get those records. And then they had to admit that they don't have any records, because Fauci said he had them, but they're in like Virginia, and I'll get them. So what you say to the media, I did this, I'm the science, right?
It don't fly.
What you say when they strap your ass in that chair, and judges don't like when you lie. The maximum sentence for perjury is 20 years. And I'm telling you, some judges, if you work for the room, DAs don't like that. Fucking justices don't like that. So he had to admit under oath, the records weren't recovered. He had to I don't know, some kind of phrasing, but the fact of the matter is,
I left him in my other pants.
Vaccines were the only medication up to a certain point that didn't have placebo control studies, which I think is the least they can do. I like randomized control studies; it's more robust. But and I don't
randomized placebo research. But
fire, dude! It was the number one. It was a New York Times bestseller for like 2 straight years, dude. So
there's a good reason on the same day that Joe Biden left office that he gave him a blank fucking pardon going back 10 years. So like
2014 was a hell of a year, wasn't it?
and you know the funniest thing about this is that, and I made so much content around this, but it was funny that he's like, oh, but yeah, but a pardon is non-necessary because you know what, I did nothing wrong. Did you know that you can refuse a pardon?
Absolutely.
You can say, I don't want it. People from the January 6th committee that imprisoned people were offered a pardon, and some of them said, no, thank you, I'm not taking it because I didn't do anything wrong. Yet you have a Fauci that's like, I guarantee you, unlike his research, he's not going to lose it. It's going to be in the back of his pants so that he's going to have it plastified, put in his wallet to make sure he can show it at any given time. I've been pardoned because that fucker is never.
He ran point for the real.
Of course
criminal.
he.
So of course
he did.
Of course they're going to protect him. He's the biggest criminal to like the right or whatever, and he's the biggest liar. But the fact of the matter is, this guy's running point for them. And now
I got to read this. I got to read this book.
And here's the thing, and Nico was getting to this. If he accepts the pardon, he is now no longer.
You're showing that you're guilty
by the Fifth Amendment. No, but now that you can strap his ass to a congressional hearing,
Yeah. He cannot.
And he's right. Woodrow Wilson, 1898, Nico. Woodrow Wilson, the Supreme Court determined that you are allowed to reject a pardon because Woodrow Wilson tried to pardon someone. And the guy said, I appreciate it, but I'm innocent and I don't want the pardon. And they're like, no, you can't reject the pardon. So the rule.
Yeah, you can.
And maybe you can go back. You guys can look up, the audience watching, just look up Woodrow Wilson pardon rejected, and maybe Google will be your fucking friend and handle that for you.
But to go back to what you were saying about the Bible, the thing is, Tim Keller said it best, and I always claim that it's him because I can't remember, and I know I didn't make it up. So we'll give it to Tim Keller, but Christianity is a hospital for sinners, not a museum for saints.
Yes.
This is always what I keep in mind. I'm a sinner, first and foremost. I will tell you, to me, there's three things that are going to happen. One day I'm going to die. That's for sure. One day I'm going to meet my maker. That's for sure. And one day I'm going to fuck up again. I'm going to commit a sin. Those are the three truth in my life that I can't do anything about it because I ain't fucking perfect.
No.
This is what Christianity needs to go back to, and this is why I'm reading the Bible, because every fucking day I'm reminded how much of a piece of shit I am and how much better I could be. Like, I read this and I'm like, God damn, I think I'm good. I'm not that good.
I can remind you that every day. You don't need the Bible for that.
That's a lot of beating yourself, though. I was gonna say,
I'm just messing. But I'm just messing. Like, turning the other cheek is a skill that I don't necessarily possess. But it is very inspiring to read people that live that life. No matter if you believe that it was intended by God, whatever, forget that part. Just read the stories for what they are, which is why I'm reading the Bible. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's like when Nico and I, before we even did our first show, me and you just talked about this. And
2 weeks ago.
Again, I can remember it like it was just the other day.
Like it was 2 weeks ago.
So like I said, I grew up in the church. I was a true believer until probably 18, and then I've got my own complicated history with sort of definitely organized religion and the church, and that sort of led me. Technically, if I had to classify myself, I am an atheist today. I don't like the term because I think it sort of implies that you don't believe in anything. You don't think there's anything more in this life. And that isn't it. I do believe there's something else. And I think I think essentially religion is an attempt to answer questions, some of these big existential questions that humans have probably had as long as we were humans. Who are we? What is the meaning of life? How did we get here? Those sorts of big brain questions that have probably been plaguing us. And I think religion is an attempt to answer these questions. I think some of them do a better job than others. And when I first rejected, I shouldn't say rejected, but when I first sort of had my reckoning around 1920, I came to the realization that I don't
1920.
Really
you're a good
19 or 19 or I was
20. Going to say you're a good looking 100 years old.
Yeah,
bro.
I look great. Good genes. And here's my take is, I guess I was probably militant about it at the first, just because a lot of my animosity towards it didn't really come from the religious, the belief system. It came from my experiences in the church, the people in the church. But with time and I guess age and maybe a little bit of wisdom, I certainly recognize, and it's sort of what you touched on, Jason, at the beginning, the 10 Commandments, like that really has nothing to do with, I guess, thou shalt not have any other gods, maybe, but most of it is just good common sense ways to live your life. Yeah. Don't steal, don't lie, don't fuck your neighbor's wife, don't kill people. Like these are just civilization building ideas. And I recognize that. And I think the Bible, especially the New Testament, there's a lot of just what God, like I recognize the value of it. And maybe someday I'll come back to it. You know what I mean? I know that I've past couple of years in my life, I'm starting to ask some questions. I'm starting to see the value in a lot of the things that I learned growing up. But
how do you choose?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
Like Nico,
and
I just grabbed it as an M16. You can use it to protect your family. You can use it,
a tool, right?
For spiritual enlightenment. Get your rush, or you can use it to do evil shit. You can pick and choose. You can pick and choose. Verses in the Bible,
exactly, right?
To fucking beat folk up with. But I will say this:
and if you could build your entire life plan, a guide for how to live your life, just based on things in the Bible. And I think, even as someone who I guess technically is an atheist, I think it's important to recognize the value in that. I think it's important to. I know, if you had asked me 10 years ago, I would have probably said something like, "Religion is the cause of all evil in the world," and if we got rid of it today, the world would be a better place. I do not believe that now. A lot of what we see right now that I have issues with the left, like when we talk about transgenderism, you can really go down the list. You can see how that absolutely is a religion. And so there's something in the human mind, the human psyche, that we're going to get. So atheism in some ways is almost a lie. You can reject traditional religion, but all you're going to do, we see with like the religion of transgenderism, people are just going to replace it with a new religion, a different religion. Right. They might not see it that way, but it's got all the hallmarks, right? You've got your chants, your mantras. Trans women are women is no different from Jesus Christ is Lord, or there is no God but God, and Muhammad, Allah is his name, or Muhammad is his prophet. You have your mantras. You've got your rituals. You've got in the Catholic Church, obviously you've got communion. In the transgender church, you've got your hormones, you've got you're taking your hormones, you've got and the other thing that I think is connection in most religions, the harshest treatment is actually meted out to the heretics, the once believers who have left the true faith. And you see that in transgenderism too. If you ever see how detransistors get treated, far worse than any.
That is the least talked about category too.
The biggest,
like the plight they have to go through and the shaming that they have from the community. They don't want to be.
You hear them talk.
Anymore.
You hear them talk, and when they first got in, they were just love bombed, and you can see exactly how they sink their hooks in them, right? That finally and it's not a coincidence. A lot of these people are people from broken homes, people from single parent families. Not that I have all the respect in the world for single parents, but I think, as you alluded to, I do think that the nuclear family, 2 loving parents, is by far the best way to raise kids. But these are people who might not have had a sense of community. They don't know who they are, and then you've got this family that comes in. They're accepted. They're love bombed, and then they believe the talk of, oh, it's your most authentic self and you're just do you. But once they realize that they reject the teachings, if they go back to those friends and say, oh, I don't think this is right for me, but I still support it, they're out the fucking door. And they are the worst people in the world. And that's what a lot of detransitioners say is so hard, is their family leaves them. The doctors won't even treat them. These doctors who are cutting their breasts off or giving them hormones, as soon as they say, I don't know, this is for me, hit the bricks, son, hit the bricks, kid, go to another doctor. And that is how you, again, maybe religion isn't even the right term.
It's dogma.
I'd like to play
but it's dogma. It is dogma. That is the problem.
But this is what
is when you cannot question. This is the problem. When you cannot question. It doesn't matter that it's religion. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter that it's science, because even today you can't question science.
Well,
Yet
it's religion. It's
the
not
scientific method is based on
Absolutely.
questioning.
Right.
So it's when something
settled
becomes
science
dogma.
is an oxymoron.
Exactly. So
Settled
it's
science,
really the dogma portion, and I don't care that it's Christianity. I don't care that it's wokeism, that it's science. That it's science. When you cannot question, there's a problem.
Right.
That means you
Definitely.
can't debate. That
Well,
means you can't have an
then
exchange of
that-
information. You're just being
Doesn't-
shut down.
Become religion because religion, right? Question that can't be science isn't science. It's religion. That's what they
Exactly.
said. Because
Well, there's
Yet-
actual science and then
someone by
the
actual
science.
faith, by some kind of faith-based system that.
But it's the dogma. Because
I'm going to play a clip by Pastor Dewey Smith, but you guys stumbled onto something about like not trusting the science and this, and there's a huge misunderstanding on the left and the right and everybody. The right, and I'm defending the right on this, the right doesn't mistrust medicine. The right mistrust the practitioners. We're not insulting their intelligence. We're insulting their integrity. We don't think they're
100%.
being honest with us. We think
Ooh,
they're
yeah.
doing this shit for profit.
Good.
And I never thought I'd
like
see
that.
a day and age where both the Democrats and Republicans have turned into the biggest cucks for Big Pharma. Like, if I told you in 2014, and I like to use that year because everything happened in 2014 that we're now discovering now, right? Kids in cages, all the way to Hunter Biden, to Ukraine, everything happened in 2014. Fauci, the gain of function, it's fucking crazy ass year that nobody. But anyway, if I told you in 2016 that we were going to be hit with a pandemic, and the three people you're supposed to trust are your local politicians. Or not your local, your federal politicians, Big Pharma, and big business. You would have told me I was fucking crazy. What happened to the day where you're like, don't trust Big Pharma? Their FDA is approving medications that are hurting people that are being recalled on not on this tiny itty bitty percentile scale. It was like remember the Canadian Parliament gave that Nazi a standing ovation.
yeah.
How many Nazis do you have to that have to keep popping up where you have to tell yourself we have a Nazi problem, right?
It's like Sanders. It's only a few Nazis. It's only a few million I took. It's only a few Nazis.
It has 2,600 soldiers, and I'm steering us off the clip, but I wanted to get to finish with the science, and it's crazy because we were talking about religion, but we. Not Republicans, but mostly Republicans don't mistrust the actual science. We don't trust the practitioners. We don't trust you.
Yep.
We don't trust the guy that gets $150,000 a year in royalties for him and his family as long as something's being manufactured. What the
who has a direct incentive in perpetuating the problem and not solving it?
How can you trust a doctor? How can you? But
people that's supposed to be regulating.
But how can you trust a doctor that does not learn about fitness, does not learn about healthy eating? How can you trust a doctor that you don't show up to the doctor and the first two questions he asks you are not, what have you been eating and have you been exercising? He's already offering you pills. How can you trust somebody to, if they don't ask you what you're eating, are you exercising? How's your sleep? Have you been sleeping? Have you been spending time outside in the sun? Like, those are four things that are a must, a complete must. But yet we don't even have those
here.
But this is again
of society, which is a whole episode in itself.
No, he's like a broader.
But like I was saying earlier, every time you're going to hear me with an argument, it doesn't matter that it's about abortion, doesn't matter that it's about religion, doesn't matter that it's about wokeism. I'm always going to show the hypocrisy. It's always where it is, because at the end of the day, we can take care of ourselves. I don't need to go to the hospital to be treated unless something really out of the ordinary happened. I'm in an accident and I can't save my own life, right? But we don't even look at understanding who we are, how our body works, how our mind works, how our spirit works. And then we blame everybody for our problems. If we always take it down to the smallest denominator, it is always an accountability problem. We do not want to take care of ourselves.
But Nico, in terms of medicine, we're talking about something that there's no profit in the cure, right? If you're exercising, and
no, there's profit in the cure. There's not. There's a lot of profit in the cure. No, as long as the cure is extended.
No, there's profit in the treatment.
They're
Yeah.
sure, but that is always sold as the cure.
Your life is treatment.
But that is the cure. But that is the cure. That's the thing. It's just you're not taking a magic pill where all your bads are gone. You're talking about an extended cure or the treatment. But at the end of the day, they still sell you the cure. That's the idea that they're selling you.
Okay. In
But
terms of got you.
It's just it's extended over a long
It's not a
period of
cure.
time.
They're just marketing as such.
They're market of 100%. They have no intentions of curing you, but they're telling you that if you can take that, it will make you better. But there's no money in preventive measures. There's no money in the doctor asking you, maybe you should eat better. Here's a diet plan. Maybe you should exercise better. Here's some personal trainers you can go see if you don't know what to do. There's no money there. There's no extended amount of money. But like I was saying at the beginning, that's why politicians, doctors, any public servant should wear their logo of the company that they accept money from on their shirts. So that when you show up, you're like, who the fuck do you work for, asshole? Like, let's be honest here. Who are you working for me? Or are you working for your sponsorship?
I worked
Pfizer
in a
across
medical
the chest.
practice.
And that is not even a left or a right problem. Do you remember during COVID, you could run the ads for Fox News and CNN, MSNBC or CNN. This episode is brought to you by Pfizer. It did not matter. It was not left. It was not right. They have both of them in their pockets.
And the commercial
questions
breaks. And the commercial breaks, what percentage do you think were like Ozempic or like pharmaceutical commercials? Probably more than 50%.
You know, I spend half my time in the US, half my time in Canada, right? And here, you know, there's things like Tubby that you can have on your TV. There's ads every now and then. And I can tell you in the US, I'm in Alabama right now. I've never seen anything like it. It is ads upon ads upon ads upon ads of medicine, cures, of crap. There's nothing else. It's all about selling you something.
Dancing syringes, for Christ's sake.
But you know,
are you shy? There's a pill for that. Are you fat? There's a pill for that. Are you sad? There's a pill for that.
Yeah,
I got that.
But you know,
do you have side effects? Do you have side effects from all your pills?
What the funniest thing is? But the funniest commercials, and I told that to my wife. It's so racist. But the AIDS, everything that has to do with AIDS, are either gay guys or black couples. Done. There's never a white couple in there. It's hilarious. It's absolutely funny. It's either gay men or black couples. They're like, we need to take our pillsies.
You know what that reminded me of? I remember watching Dave Chappelle, The Closer, right? And he's
fucking great.
And the trans person had two black bodyguards, right? And the trans person's yelling at him, you don't know what we've been through. You don't know our struggle and the history of everything we've been through. And he said, I looked at the two black bodyguards and I was like, is this something you two niggas want to say right now? What you mean identify with your struggle? But I worked in a cardiology practice for 17 years. You guys can Google search Dr. Rosenfeld. He was American Heart Association's Physician of the Year, the only time they've given out that award. He was a United Nations Citizen of the World in 1999. That award was only
black? Was he black? Was it DEI or did he deserve it?
He might have been a light-skinned brother, but I think he identified as Jewish.
I'm just
he might have identified as being
Rosenfeld. Yeah.
He 1999 he got United Nations Citizen of the World, which is only given to Nelson Mandela and Jacques Cousteau. So he's the guy that made millions but decided he didn't need billions.
Okay. Good for you.
When you make millions and decide that that's enough, do you know what happens? You start just being honest. And like when pharmaceutical reps come and say, hey, we'd like you to do this, go to our speakership and speak on Lipitor or whatever. He's like, no. Or he'll say yes and send me.
Don't need it.
Yeah, he'll say, what do you know what he'd do? He'd fucking send me. He'd say yes. And I was his assistant. He would send me. So I go to these speaker engagements and I'm talking to all of these people and I'm having these crazy conversations with pharmaceutical reps, their superiors, and how they pump the drugs. I met pretty much the entire Sackler family, and how they do that. And these people seem like normal human beings until the news gets them. But it's to your greater point. He wrote a book called Dr. What Should I Eat? Right? It was a bestseller. He wrote Roosevelt's Guide to Alternative Medicine. Another bestseller, and if you're in this pill popping society, it's not the book you want to write because it's offering alternatives to what you say pill first. So, for example, a patient sees him, and he's like, "I want to lower your cholesterol's high or your LDL, or your HDL's high, right?" He's like, he would say, "What are you eating?" Right? And if they just want their pills, he'll just say, "Fuck it, you win." I'll write a prescription for your pills. But he would always offer an alternative lifestyle of a diet, health, exercise. He was actually on Fox. He was on Fox and Friends. He had his own health thing on Fox. He passed away a few years ago, but Fox News every morning. It was called Fox and Friends, or I don't know what it was called, but it was a Q&A with him. And he's a Democrat on a Republican station because, like Nico said, this is not a partisan issue. I mean, if I were to be like more bigoted, I would say Republicans work out more than Democrats, right? Because working out now is a racist thing.
But remember what I said at the beginning.
Did you see that meme or the article? It was like, taking care of your body, you might be a far right. Like, motherfucker, come on, man. If you're going to redefine being healthy as far right, you're going to find a whole lot of far right.
Look at Nico, look at us.
But technically, they're right. Technically, they're not wrong, because think about it. Remember what I said earlier. But remember what I said earlier.
I am superior.
No, that's not what I was saying. I was saying that.
Yes, I know.
I didn't think I needed to say that. I think we already understood that. What I was going to say is, remember what I said earlier. Left mentality is crushing people down. Right mentality is bringing people up. One of the first things what changed my life, when I stopped doing drugs, I was a drug addict. I was an alcoholic. I was not a good guy, right? And I went back to school after dropping out when I was 14 years old. And as I was finishing up my high school, I went to college. And one of the first things that I got exposed to is the gym. They had a free gym as part of the college. I played basketball my whole life, but I'm 6'1", 145 pounds. I'm literally right now 90 pounds heavier than I was 20 years ago. And I was exposed to just pushing weights, finally having the power to change what I looked like. This changed everything. This is where it starts. If you want to start building people up, martial arts, good diet, hitting the gym, exercising, spending time outside,
working out outdoors,
spending time out. But this is my point. So for having a bunch of, if you have a bunch of leftists that are telling you that obesity is not a problem, that it's we need to stop fat shaming people, we need to respect that not all bodies are made the same, yet look at the 70s and prior, everybody was skinny, so something happened. But the point is, they're not wrong. If somebody looks at me and they say, oh, because you work out, you're probably more conservative, you're absolutely right. Because you always have to remember, the left tries to impose on their people with sanctions. The right tries to build up people. And I don't think I would be the man I am today if it wasn't for the fact that I started doing hitting the gym and doing martial arts. I wouldn't have.
And
because this is where game's from.
I have zero problem with cherry picking here as far as working out and this and that. And it's a fun conversation. But
you're a leftist, so you don't work out, right?
I would work out. I do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups every morning before I get.
I'm just fucking with you. One thing I'm noticing from lefties, they don't have a sense of humor.
No. They're fucking man. They become joyless.
Go pet your cats and leave me alone.
Yeah. And also, we need to distinguish the difference between a leftist and a Democrat. They're not the same thing. A conservative and a Republican are not necessarily the same thing.
They're not. In my case, they're not the same.
The foundation of this entire podcast is knowing what our definitions mean before we proceed with the discussion. I really wanted to play this clip before we got too far away from religion. It's from Pastor Dewey Smith, and he talked about being careful about cherry picking. And here we go. DJ, spin that shit.
And a great number of our artists that we call abominations and we call demons, we demonize and dehumanize the same people that we use, and we don't say nothing about the gay choir director because he's good for business.
You know, the gay choir director sitting there thinking like,
I ain't saying nothing about his sexuality.
It's talking about homosexuality being an abomination and what's really going on.
We have done what the slave master did to us, dehumanize us, degrade us, demonize us, but then use them for our advantage.
The crowd is, none of them saw this coming, so they're going to show pictures of the crowd.
Talk about the Supreme Court and calling them Sodom and Gomorrah, which is not what it's all about. But if that's the case, half our churches have been Sodom and Gomorrah for 100 years.
Oh shit! He's like, yeah, I guess. I'm not sure where he's going.
They don't know where he's going.
What do you mean? He said, well, on one hand, you quote homosexuality is an abomination from Leviticus. But you say that right after you ate some shrimp, some catfish, and some lobster.
That's right.
Yeah.
Shellfish is in Leviticus.
Mm-hmm.
You quote Leviticus
like
while you're wearing
different
a wool
cloths
suit.
together.
It's also in Leviticus that you shouldn't wear mixed linens.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying.
It's in Leviticus that if your wife is on her cycle, that you shouldn't go in the same house with her or even sleep on the same bed with her. That's in Leviticus too.
That dude's like, I didn't know that.
Here's my point.
Here's the point.
We pick and choose the scriptures that we want to use to beat folk up with, rather than look at our own lives.
And I think that's what Nico was talking about. Examine
100%.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying.
If God wanted to judge America, he wouldn't need the Supreme Court system. If he wanted to judge America because of sin, he would have judged me in '88 at the Freaknik in Atlanta. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I don't condemn you. I don't judge you. I'm going to preach Christ to you. Because you can't evangelize and antagonize at the same time.
And that was the through line. I'm sorry I put you through all of that, but there was the through line was, you cannot, if you're trying to fish for souls and if you're trying to share your faith, you use your weapons for good. And I'll repeat what he said. You cannot evangelize and antagonize at the same time. And this is Nico's issue with the Democratic establishment. They lost their joy because they spend all of this time looking for your worst moment, looking for bad moments, looking for someone to say, oh, he did this, that's that, right? You do the okay sign from Buckwheat from Little Rascals. Oh my God, that's KKK. Who the fuck knew that? You just rehashed the definition that people spent years forgetting about, right? Elon Musk, my heart goes out to you. The whatever, the salute. You're talking about. Yeah, and I know Rob had something to say, but you're trying to tell me the one guy, and I didn't. Maybe I don't know. Maybe this is for a whole nother podcast episode. You're trying to tell me the guy who went to fucking Hebrew school, preschool, went to an all-white school, got beat up by white people because he didn't like bullying, wound up going to an all-black school. Right. His father was a civil rights attorney who fought against apartheid. We all know, no matter what side of the argument of Gaza and Israel you're on, he's the biggest fucking simp for
Israel supporter.
He's the biggest Israel supporter. And people say that Israel is not a one religion state, but Israel to most people is Judaism. Right. And the ADL, which I disagree with strenuously on so many issues, but the ADL, my point of the ADL is, if you sneeze the wrong way, you're an anti-Semite. Right? If you don't like Netanyahu, you're an anti-Semite. If you don't like Israel, but like Judaism, you're still an anti-Semite. So everything that they see, they're sniffing anti-Semitism. And even they said, chillax.
He's fine.
Chill out, guys. That's not what's happening here. And I'm not saying that because I like the ADL. I'm just saying that they're the one entity that's my hat's probably the New York Yankees. You're an anti-Semite, right? They're looking for anti-Semitism, and even they at this point were like, no. So,
well, it sort of goes to the heart of left-wing current, like just essentially what Nico was saying is, and I did just want to kind of go back to what you were talking about, like fat shaming, what the doctors say, and I you made good points, but I think that really highlighted the difference between current left-wing thinking and right-wing thinking. One of my sort of overall ideas is that, maybe we should bring shame back a little bit. It turns out shame actually served a useful social function. I'm not talking about bullying. I'm talking about, there was a reason why men didn't wear women's underwear in public and hang around children's playgrounds 20 years ago, because they would have been shamed for it. They might have been arrested for it. But now can't shame them anymore. And now you have, a lot of these people here. Let's be honest. I do believe gender dysphoria is a real thing, but there's a whole lot of non-dysphoric, just fucking creeps and pedophiles and the guys that 20 years ago were flashing kids at the playground, who are using this as an excuse to live out their fetishes in public. And the rest of us have to just shut up because we don't want to be bigots. We don't want to be transphobes. And what I'm saying is I think we should bring back shaming a little bit. And I think, Nico, what you said specifically about fat shaming, no, I don't think we should bully fat people for sure. But you hear this all the time when I'll see people on Twitter who will say, look, I lost 300 pounds or 200 pounds. I'm healthy. And what did it was people telling me, was the response I got from public. The fact that nobody wanted to date me, the fact that I could see in their eyes, maybe they weren't saying anything rude to me. I could see they didn't respect me. And I'm saying maybe that's a good thing, because now look at the improvement they made. I think if we look at the same problem, let's say you have obesity as an issue. What Nico's saying is people on the right-wing accountability is definitely right-wing coded today. And what I'm trying to say, it doesn't have to be. This should be a nonpartisan thing. It shouldn't be only right-wing. But what the people on the right would say is, okay, you're obese, you're fat, it's not healthy for you. You got to take accountability and you got to lose that weight. What a left-wing person will say today is, no, you're fine. And they'll try to remove the shame. They'll try to remove the incentive to, if the fat person says, but nobody, I feel shamed. The left winger will say, okay, let's remove the shame. The right winger will say, get your fat ass in the gym. And I think, I think it shouldn't be partisan. Accountability should not be right wing coded. And that's part of my idea of, I'm not ready to give up on the left yet. I just think we need to take some of the ideas that have made the right what it is.
Michelle Obama.
But hold on. Because, one of the things, like the video you played, right? The video you played, you look at what the guy said. And I have that problem with Christianity all the time. This is something that bothers the hell out of me. I have a guy on my podcast next month to talk about this, because he approaches people. He's a massive guy, probably 500 to a million followers. And he talks about homosexuality, just like the pastor did there. And this is wrong. This is that. And I'm like, I haven't read that in the Bible yet. I haven't read that Jesus told me not to do that. And I struggle with that. I don't understand, because at the end of the day, I really don't care. Do I agree with them? No, I don't think I'd want a cock in my mouth. But does that mean that two consensual adult can do it? Who are they hurting?
Now? What's up?
I'm not in prison, bro. My personality is different when I'm in prison or not.
I would being a woman in a heartbeat if you wanted in prison.
But the thing is I don't want to make it sound like the hypocrisy is only on the left, because I see the hypocrisy on the right as well. And even as a Christian, I can look at other Christians and I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't say that. Or if it says that, right next to it, it says something else that you never talk about. So if you're going to be don't be a hypocrite. Do not be a hypocrite.
The reason why you're so valuable, Nico, and the reason why it's an honor, duty, and privilege for me to be on this podcast is because when there's a disagreement, you're very good at hitting the rewind button and be like, okay, how did we get there? Did Jesus talk about this? Okay, he talked about Sodom and Gomorrah, but let's take a look at the historical reference. Sodom and Gomorrah was not about homosexuality. Sodom and Gomorrah historically was about what we call Zeus's law of hospitality. If someone comes to your house, you don't take advantage of them in an insane way. And if you're a guest at someone's house, someone's nice enough to have you over, you don't take advantage of them. So Sodom and Gomorrah was more about a hospitality and not abusing the host not abusing and the person not abusing the host. So that's the original historical context comes from, which, just like wokeism, has gotten spun and turned into something else, an interpretation and misinterpretation, right? Another example in the Bible, when Jesus is like, come with me, and the guy's like, I need to bury my father. And Jesus is like, we don't have time for that. We got to go. I mean, if you don't understand historical context, you think Jesus is like this cool, you're a cold motherfucker, dude. The guy's trying to bury his father. But the historical context means, bury my father means doesn't mean he's dead and I'm trying to dig the grave now, right? Because people take this literal interpretation of the Bible. What bury my father means, my father has 3 months to live, right? And I want to be there when he dies so I can bury him. And Jesus is saying we ain't got 3 months, and that's not, you know what I'm saying? That's not as cold. right?
Yeah.
The guy's, halfway out of the grave. So the reason why, and Nico, I hope I didn't talk too much where you forgot your thought, but I really, really value being on this podcast because you're very good at hitting the rewind button. Like you're against Marxism and wokeism and whatever. How did we get there? We had a great conversation with that.
Yeah,
but there's no other way. What else can I
I
read a lot.
Choose the right way.
But it's just, I have a lot of life experience. I was one of the biggest assholes you can think of, and I changed. I read a lot. I spent a lot of oh, bro, it's going to be me for the rest of my life, man. But I spent a lot of time alone, which is something that most people will never do. I spend a lot of time by myself in the middle of the
there's a lot of value in that.
2.5 years. But this is my point.
Go ahead, Nico. Sorry.
When you're left, when you're left with your own thoughts and there's no distractions anymore, it's just you, God, and nature. Your bullshit is not hiding anymore. It's not possible because you didn't end up there innocently. That there's something that you've done to put you there. And this is all I'm trying to teach people. At the end of the day, is I believe in certain morals that don't come from men. That's my belief. You don't believe in that? That's fine. But as you guys said, can you really look at the 10 Commandments and say they're wrong? You can't, because you look at Canada and you look at the US, they are based on Christian values. So if you look at our set of laws, we're based on the 10 Commandments. So you can argue the Bible all you want, but at the end of the day, the moral values that it has to teach you is there. It's just a matter, again, like abortion. Do we think that where does life begin? Okay. Do you have to say that Jesus saved you in order to read the Bible and understand that it is the greatest psychological tale of all time? No, you don't. Just, you don't need one to fulfill the other. And this is my point, right? Just open your horizons.
Nico,
just
why
listen.
Why do you hate women so much?
I don't.
You're a transphobic bigot, is what I took from that. A far right Nazi.
Nice try, Jason. I'm following
No. Listen, I don't hate women. I think they have a role. It's in the kitchen cleaning my fucking dishes. But outside of that, I fucking love women. What the fuck, man? As long as they stay there.
Like Don Fry. All I want to do is have a beer, smack my old lady on the ass, and watch.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
Go ahead, Rob.
No. Actually, I was just agreeing with Nico. Actually, I did want to touch on something, and hopefully this doesn't go down a rabbit hole. I think we all are going to agree on this.
Before you do, Rob, before you go down, because I know you, before you do your rabbit hole, here's the perfect example. I just got texted as we're recording this about a guy that I met in church that introduced me to a family that the mother has MS. She's in her early 30s. She can't take care of her 3 children anymore. So every now and then when they need something, they're going to text me and I'm going to go help them out. This to me, this is what Christianity has been teaching me, is serve others. Serve others. Just serve others. Don't ask why. If somebody enters your house, somebody enters your life that you can help, just do it. Just do it because you can and you should. But this is my point. This does not have to be about Christianity at all. But I see this tech and I'm like, I don't even care what you need. I'll go help you out. That's fine because that's the right thing to do.
That's how you that's how you get your W. Yep.
But this is
I think if more Christians were like that, I think a lot of people would feel differently.
They'll know.
I have called
Rob, right?
I have called up but you know what? Exactly, I call out Christians more than I do anybody else.
Yeah. Because
they're my biggest problem, because you're supposed to be like that by their teachings. It's just, but it doesn't have to be a Christian thing. It's just being a good person.
Right. Rob, let's put our tin
rabbit hole.
This dude, oh my God, he's got it. I gotta see it one more time. Oh my God.
We came prepared.
Oh shit. Fuck. Next time I gotta come. I gotta.
You're gonna have to bring. Yeah, I gotta get one. You gotta get one.
Shit.
You have to.
It's required kit on this show.
And Nico knows I love it because Nico knows I could dive down a rabbit hole where we can see the fucking Earth's core. He knows.
We're on this show, man. Our rabbit holes have rabbit holes, and it goes hard. Yeah.
So
Were you
why
going to
do hate
ask?
so much? No, you had a thought.
Why do
You had a rabbit
Oh,
hole.
no. So, yeah, I had a rabbit hole. I think, I think I know more or less where we're all going to stand on this, but I also think it's something, we all sort of are on the same page about and would like to discuss, because you had mentioned before, your how you think the nuclear family is so important. I know from me and Nico's discussions, I know you guys both are really on the men train right now. You know what I mean? Like just trying to support men. I think, and this is, I think, something like, I've got a 6-year-old son, so I'm I'm in right in the trenches of trying to pass on some of the things that I know I've learned through life about being a man, how to be a man, right? I feel like for him, his first 10, 11, 12 years, he was a mama's boy. That was her turn. Now that he's, once he hits puberty, now it's my turn to sort of take over. And I'm trying to do that. But I think right now in society, and again, this is another major critique I have of the left, I think you guys probably agree, it is really hard to be a man, for men. And I think a lot of people are very dismissive of that. I think 20 or 30 years ago, I think society seemed to recognize girls weren't doing so well. And they were like, they're getting a lot of messages that are bad for their development, for their self-esteem. And that's why, 20 years today, we have, plus size models in Ivory soap and Dove soap commercials. And I think that's great. That's fine. If that helps, I'm not a woman. I don't know really what will help, but if that helps, I think that's great. Lost in the shuffle though, is how are men doing? How are boys doing? And I think there's a tendency to dismiss it on the left of, oh, they're boys, they're men, there's privilege. They have privilege, they'll be fine. And, there's this big campaign to demonize toxic masculinity. We've all heard the term toxic masculinity. And I think in the drive to do so, we've demonized all masculinity. We've gotten rid of masculinity. It has the brand of masculinity right now is not good. And so, and this comes from a lot of, I think, feminist thought, feminist theories. I'm not going to say all feminism because, like you said earlier, if we just define feminism as a belief that men and women should be equal under the eyes of the law and should, equality, so to speak, should have the same opportunities as each other, blah, blah. I think we're probably all feminists here, but that, that's not what I'm talking about. It seems like there's a strain of feminism. Not all feminists,
except Nico. Don't Nico's like,
yeah. I mean, he hates women, right? So he'll. I'm almost done, Nico, and then I'll throw it to you. I'll throw it to you.
It's about the word equality.
I think. No, I know, and I know that's a loaded term right now, but I mean actual equality. I just mean people should be equal in the eyes of the law and have the same opportunities. I understand there's roles.
You can't.
No,
under the law, under the law is one thing, and I agree with you 1,000%. We should be equal under the law, but you cannot have equal opportunity. You can't. That never. No, of course not. You can't.
Like we're talking about, like, okay, let's say the LA fires, for example. We saw a lot of the weaknesses of DEI there, and that brought a lot of stuff to the forefront. And I saw a lot of things where it talked about standards for women firefighters in different fire departments across the country, and they were lower. And that's not what I'm talking about. That's bullshit. If you have to lower the standards so more women can get in, then I don't think that's done.
I agree.
So
that is not the same.
Incapable of doing the job. You're right.
But if a woman, if a woman can meet those standards, I do think she should be able to do the job. The fact of the matter is, just the biological fact of the matter is, as long as the standards are equal, firefighting will be a 95% male-dominated position, and that's fine.
Right.
You see that's
not equal opportunity.
But our agreement is not dual standards. Go head to head with the boys.
Yes, yeah.
But that's not equal opportunity. You got to be careful with your wording.
Again, that's a rabbit hole within the rabbit hole. So
words matter.
On that.
No, it's just I'm correct. No, but words matter. If you want me, equality means the same. We are not the same. There's no such thing as equality of opportunity either, because a 5'2", chances are he's not going to become an NBA player.
No, I'm not talking about equality of outcome. I'm talking about equality of opportunity. Equality
But
of
you
outcomes
can't.
would have 50%
Of course
female
you can,
firefighters, and you can't have that. But
Nico,
to say,
there's no stat that says a man is a better practicing attorney than a woman. Okay, if you're talking about things of physical nature, men are physically stronger. We get that, right? And if
that's what I'm talking about.
And if the woman has the opportunity to try out for something and she fails at that opportunity because she's weak enough, that's where the opportunity as its foundation and definition lies.
yeah,
So I'm gonna have
yes,
to
exactly.
strenuously
Do you
disagree.
believe that if a woman can meet that standard, that she should be allowed to be a firefighter?
Yeah,
Of course.
if she can, yes.
Okay,
If she
okay. So
can.
we're on the same page.
Anyone that's ever
Yeah,
seen
absolutely.
G.I. Jane, right?
Yeah.
You know, like if a girl can
That's all my.
Navy SEALs Academy, if a girl and she didn't, do you remember she went to the colonel? You can't shave my time off the obstacle course. A time for women, right? You can't give me a freaking a chair or like a stool to climb over the wall. You know, you're gonna give me a pink petticoat to wear on the base. These people will vilify me and know that I'll never be one of them because of what you're doing to me. And that's
You actually listen to the movie? You listen to the movie?
Yeah,
I
the
muted
dumber the
this
name, the
shit.
better the movie. The dumber
No,
the
fuck
name,
that
the
shit.
better the movie. Forrest
The
Gump
movie is so much,
That's a great movie.
bro, the movie is so much better when it's on mute.
Oh, movies.
You don't have to be distracted by the words.
The blasphemy.
By the words.
You better
Yeah.
watch your mouth. The blasphemy.
I'm a sinner, bro.
So when I say equality of opportunity, though, I just mean that women should have the opportunity to meet
you.
the same standards. Okay.
I get you.
Yeah, go ahead.
But that I agree with. That we all
Yes.
agree on this one.
Yeah, and he knew we would too. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And I'm almost done my bit here, and then I'll throw it to you guys.
I
But
have
just
a
back to
video.
the masculinity thing, I think, you know, we have an entire generation of young men who are being taught from, you're talking about messaging, who are being taught from a young age that their very essence is wrong. That there's something wrong with them, and they need to conform to some feminist-led idea of what masculinity actually is. And for me, I'm like, okay, listen, you would rightly be offended if we as men told you how to be a woman. Give us the same respect. Do not tell us how to raise our young men. We know what it means. At least give us the option, or sorry, the opportunity to prove that we understand what you call, like, there are some, masculinity is not toxic. There is toxic behavior from men, and we can certainly push back on that. But men, by their nature, are masculine. And the reason why I thought this up, Jason, is because what you had said earlier, if men don't have a role model, they will seek one out. And the same people who have been 20 years demonizing masculinity are now the same ones talking about a masculinity crisis. Like, what
if you
the fuck
grow
do you
up on
expect?
Avenue, that might not be the male idol you want your kid to look up to. If you grow up in a
Exactly, right?
That kid doesn't have a father, and the first person he sees, he's going to want to be like. That might not be the person.
Because
I'm being real, guys. Yeah.
Hang on, like, could not agree more. Because men, by our nature, we want to be masculine, and I mean there are exceptions. I'm sure there are, not everyone, but broadly speaking, it is true that men want to be masculine and they want to be perceived as masculine. And if you have spent 20 years destroying any sort of good, like, example of healthy masculinity, then do not be surprised when the young men go one of two directions. They just become cuts, beaten down incels, or they go to what you call the toxic version, because they're gonna find it one way or the other.
Listen, since Nico's a certified expert here on how to be a real man, I'd like him to go last on this one. But for now, I'd like to spend the next minute and a half. This is a tribute I call trolling Nico Lagan. All right, Nico. I think I discovered how to be a man. All right. And I did all the studying, and we came on the podcast, and I came up with this brilliant video, this conclusion on how to be a better man. So for Nico, for the episode, or this portion of the podcast called Trolling Nico, this one is for you.
I'm a man.
I'm a man.
I'm a man, man.
I love that video.
I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Neat.
Man enough to cook my steak rare.
Man enough to deadlift 500, then braid the out of my daughter's hair.
You think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast.
I ain't
Yeah,
afraid
you do.
Bear hugs.
Literally.
He eats a lot for breakfast.
Women.
I'm not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women.
They want to control their bodies? I say go for it.
They want to use the IVF to start a family? I'm not afraid of
I
families.
knew it was going to go here.
Cat ladies, have all the cats you want.
Woman wants to be president? Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement. Because I'm man enough to support women.
Man enough to know what kind of donuts I like.
Man enough to admit I'm lost, even when I refuse to ask for directions.
Man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women.
Or one of those pants books that the sisters like.
I'm man enough to raw dog a flight. It sucked. Not worth it.
I'm man enough.
Why'd you go to? Why'd you say? What a weird thing to say.
What am I, whore? I'm man enough.
That's
to
a Kamala Harris ad campaign.
What a perfect example of the emasculated, feminized version of masculinity that I meant when I said they're trying to push this on young men and think it's an appropriate substitute.
I love women.
I love women who support their families.
Women who decide not to have families.
Women who take charge.
And I'm man enough to help them win.
All right. So before I go to Nico, I'd like to go to this picture.
Endorsement.
Because I'm man enough to support
Where's the fat guy?
Man enough
We gotta
to know
we
what
gotta
kind
get back
of
to the fat guy.
Man enough to admit
Where
I'm
is he?
lost, even when I refuse to ask for directions.
The guy that ate
There he is.
carburetors for breakfast.
Now, Nico,
Yeah.
I'd like to finish my little soliloquy, if not diatribe, by saying this: you cannot spell carburetor without carb.
He agrees with you.
Nico, something you'd like to say about Rob's thing? You are the expert in men, and he and I humbly defer to you on some of these issues because you have spent the last few years making the world a better place by men being men.
You know, man.
Wendy Jones, you're like a hero, by the way. My friend Wendy Jones, I hope you come on the podcast. She's like at last a real man. Go ahead.
One of the things that we like, Rob mentioned a few things, but kind of shifted the blame on the feminine. And it's easy to do when we watch videos like this, like a Kamala Harris campaign ad, which all the guys there are not masculine whatsoever. So
they're not man enough to not take the money. They got paid for that.
But they're not acting like men. They don't stand up for what they believe in. But at the same time, we have to agree as men that the problem comes from men not being men not teaching men how to be men. Because as much as women are problematic, it's a problem that's what the statistics I was looking at. About 25% of children today, I saw numbers up to 33%, but 33% of boys are raised without a father in the home. So there is, and I'm not saying that the father does not want to be there, but a lot of our kids are raised by women, and women cannot teach them how to be men. We need men to do so. So even though that women are raising them, we still need to find men to teach those boys. And this is a problem because I'm expecting a boy, bro. In a few months, I'm going to become a father, and my first baby is a son, man. Yeah. We learned 2 weeks ago he's going to be a boy, man. And you know,
I got a girl. I could keep her in the house.
I didn't have a father growing up. I had to figure all that shit out for myself. But at the same time, you need a father figure. You need men to step up to the plate because men today are not masculine. Men are not the leaders that they should be. And women, you can discriminate all you want, but the reason women are acting the way that they are is that they're living in their masculine energy because they don't have a masculine man in their life to allow them to be feminine. You know, we were at the midwife this week, and my wife and I, we're laughing. Like, she's literally having her pressure taken, and I'm talking shit. And she's like, your pressure is elevated. My wife looks at me. She's like, yeah, it's that fucker over there that won't shut the hell up. So her and I are extremely different, right? We're two complete opposite. But this is the beauty of the thing. I have roles to play. She has roles to play. You know, study shows that for a woman to feel secure, to be a good mother, she needs to feel secure. She needs to feel safe. And it's a man's job to create a safe space for their family at home.
I believe that.
But this is the thing. Men needs to go back to being the leader that their wife want them to be. We need to be the strong role, the masculine role that our boys need. We need to teach our boys how to become masculine so that they can be the leader of their families and give that opportunity to their wife, to their women, to their daughters to be feminine. But now women are living masculine, feminine, men are living feminine. And we wonder why we're fucked. But we have to stop seeing men and women as we're competing with each other when we complement each other.
We're partners.
Because you look at my wife, you look at the midwife, and she laughed her ass off. My wife is pregnant. She's 120 pounds. I'm just under 240. I'm literally twice her size. And she looks at us and she's like, you guys are polar opposite in size and attitude, the way that we just behave as human beings. But when it comes to morals, when it comes to the way we want to raise our children, and the way that we see life, we're identical. And this is the problem, right? That's why earlier when you say women and men should be equal, we need to be very careful with the word equal, because equal means the same, and we're not the same. We were not designed to be the same, and it should be celebrated, the fact that we are different. Because why would you be with somebody that is like you? I don't want to be in a relationship with somebody that's like me. I want to be in a relationship with somebody that's a complete opposite of who I am, because they will complement my lack. I will be, I don't know if I made it up or not, but I think I did. I always say this to men. Men are supposed to be a woman's rock, and a woman is supposed to be a man's weakness. Men need to control their emotions. They need to be more stoic. They need to be the leader that their families need them to be. But at the same time, they need to give themselves up to their woman and their family. They need to be vulnerable with them. But the job of a man is to know the difference
not out in
between
public. Be stoic
but
in
at the same
public. Keep
time,
your shit to yourself. With your woman in private, then you can be vulnerable.
But think about this. Like, think about an extremely feminine trait of a woman. And I always use this example. Imagine a woman that is dancing barefooted in the rain. Nice, beautiful summer day. It rains. She's just being a woman. As a man, you look at her, you're like, she's fucking crazy. That makes fucking no logical sense whatsoever. But is there something more beautiful than a woman that's being feminine, that is just giving up to her emotions, that's just living an emotion? It does not matter how it looks. It doesn't matter how long it lasts, but she's just being herself. My wife came up to me earlier as I'm working. She's like, hey, do I look fat? And I'm like, you know what? It's the happiest I've ever seen you. No, but it is the happiest I've ever seen her. Yesterday, she felt the kick, because we're at a point where she's going to start feeling the kid move every day. We're at that point, and now for the past few days, she has. You know that there's nothing more beautiful. I've never seen my wife more beautiful than 2 days ago when she felt the kid kick. Her face lit up. She's tired as shit because she feels like she doesn't sleep well. Everything hurts. So she's not in her best physical shape, like the way she would present herself, right? Like if you look at her physically, she's looked a lot better, but she was never as beautiful as she was 2 days ago, the way she lit up. And this is a feminine thing. A man can never experience that.
Rob, tell
but
him.
As I'm watching her, I'm like, man, this is beautiful.
But
this
Rob,
is
if you think that's
this
beautiful,
is just
wait till Rob tells you the experience of that when the kid comes out and when the kid's born, and you look down at that kid.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
And you melt. You melt like a grown man. So everything he's talking about is beautiful, but I wanted you to take over because you have a kid too, Rob. Tell him.
But hold on. All I was saying is men are to blame as much as women are. That's the point. That was the point of what I was saying. A lot of women blame men for being too masculine or to be toxic, but a lot of men, there's that passport bro initiative where men want to go get women from different countries. And every single time I hear those guys talk, I'm like, bro, you're not even a man. You can go to Eastern Europe where you're going to go grab a woman that's extremely feminine, but that woman had a father that was probably in the military that had to defend his family day in and day out. That dude fucking worked a job he fucking hated just to take care of his family. Are you that man? You're not. So fuck off. Go sit the fuck down and understand that you're at fault as much as women are. In that respect, you got to be careful. If you want a feminine woman, you need to. Not a monolith like that. Okay. But if you want a feminine woman, a more traditional feminine woman, like I do, my wife is more traditional, but guess what? She expects me to take a bullet for her. She expects me to provide for her. She expects me to protect this house. There's a lot of roles that she has for me as much as I have roles for her. It goes both ways, right?
Right. Yeah, Rob.
I just want to jump in because that clarification you made, and I think that's great. I think it's exactly the clarification that needed to be said, because you're right. I think I'm when I said like it's feminized or whatever, that isn't the problem. The problem is men allowed themselves to give up their masculinity. We allowed them to take 100%. It from us, and absolutely, the one thing. Again, we're talking about human behavior, human psychology. It's a massive spectrum. You can never make blanket statements. But broadly speaking, straight women are attracted to masculinity. And if you, as a straight man, are in a relationship and you are comfortable with your own masculinity and you display it, she will feel much safer and she will naturally revert to a more feminine posture that most women naturally want to be. There has been you can call it a masculinity vacuum. And you're right for that clarification, because it isn't women that are the problem. It isn't feminism. It isn't feminization. There was a masculinity vacuum, and feminized thought or discourse filled it. And because nature abhors a vacuum, it will be filled. But if men can reclaim that, can retake that, and if you find yourself in a relationship with a woman as a straight man, if you are able to display that and be comfortable and be masculine, she will feel much safer. Just not even just like physically safer, she will, but just safer in the relationship. She'll feel that she's able to be the thing that she's meant to be, because you are being the thing that you were meant to be.
First of all, we know that Nico would take a bullet for his wife. You shot Nico and she'd be like, "Oh my God, Nico, you okay?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, just give me some corn. I'm fine. Yeah, throw some fucking dirt on it. I'm good, right?" I mean, this is
I'll have to skip leg day, but I'm fine.
This is a fucking real man. Second, who's ever seen Rocky 2? Sylvester Stallone.
Which
Rocky
one
2.
Is that the Mr. T?
Rocky 2 was when Apollo wanted.
He fights Apollo Creed. Yeah, he fights it again.
Rematch, but Rocky didn't want to give him a rematch because of his safety and all that stuff. And finally, he just got pushed over the edge. And he told Adrian, and the through line of the entire movie, he says, "Adrian, I never asked you to stop being a lady, so please don't ask me to stop being a man."
Yeah.
And the line was perfect, because the line was drawn in the sand, where any man that dares still call himself a man says, "I gotta fucking do this." It's not just because it's all he knows. He couldn't read. He was illiterate, right? So there are other variables that came into play, right? He wasn't gonna fucking farm apples and he wasn't gonna practice law. It's all he knew. So there was that too, right? But it's the through line that defines us as a man. And anyone listening to this podcast, go fuck Mr. T, fuck Drago. Go see Rocky 2, because he's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to live in peace. And there's a line that got drawn where a woman has to understand that he has to be a man. And when she had the baby,
do this.
When she had the baby, she said, "I have one word to say: win." Because she got it. She understood it. And Nico, I'd like to finish by saying, I support your argument, because if you went to our wives or a woman and said, "Would you want a man to teach a girl how to grow up and be a woman?" There's no woman on this earth that's going to say yes. They're all going to say, "Hell no. Men don't know shit about women, but we know everything about men." No, fuck off. No.
Yeah,
so
afford us the same respect.
By this basic foundational logic, if you don't want a man to raise a girl on how to be a woman, that has to work both ways. And that's me being fair. That's not me being a chauvinist, dominant, woman-hating guy like Nico. Now, but Nico, the reason why I support your broader point, and is the reason why me and him had all kinds of shut the fuck up and just let you go through that. It's golden. And it's fact. It's backed by historical context, and everybody knows that you're right in this case. And you're not trying to be anti-woman. You're just trying to tell women and other men, let a fucking man be a man.
And I have that conversation with my wife all the time. She's like, "Oh, I wish you were more like that. You were more emotional. You were more cuddling. You were more like this." And I look at her and I'm like, "What do you want?"
But if I was, you wouldn't. Yeah.
I wouldn't be if you and this
the things that you like about me are connected to that. You know what I mean? The other things
but
that
she
you
knows.
like.
She knows.
Nico
She
tried to
fully
make that
understands.
real, man. He's failed, so he's happy to hear me say that, because this man's been trying for years to turn me into a real man. I'm probably his one failed project.
One of these days.
But you know, the Adrian and Rocky is the perfect example, because my wife will sometime want something, and then if you put it back to exactly what Rocky said, let me be a man. Same thing as I'm going to tell her, you like the fact that I'm a masculine man, that comes at a price. You cannot expect me to be feminine and masculine at the same time, because I am not. So yes, it has downfalls, because a gay friend would be much safer for her, would be much better for her. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
or
she can get that
sensitivity, right? You
yeah,
said
that's what I just said.
He says, how many?
I said a homosexual. That's what I just said, a gay man, right?
Got it. This comedian said, he says, how many y'all women out there want a man with sensitivity? And like a whole bunch of women clap your hand. He says, all y'all women that just clap your hand, think about this. You in bed late at night with your man. Someone breaks into the fucking house. Your man's sensitive. You both gonna get your ass whipped.
I think what you said about the Rocky example, it actually fits perfectly with Nico's example about dancing in the rain.
100%.
There are some, you watch it and you might think that's beautiful, even if you don't understand it. You might think, why the fuck is she doing that? But you understand there's something about, her and like interacting with her sacred feminine, if you want to call it that, that makes her want to do that. You might not understand it, but you recognize that it's beautiful. Same. Rocky's wife, maybe she didn't understand why he had to get into that ring. But she did. By the end of it, she recognized it.
Yeah,
she recognized
it. But it's a conversation that needs to be had. But it's a conversation that needs to be had, because as much as my woman is very traditional and conservative in her values, she still forgets sometimes, because we have to remember women are more emotional than men are. Men are more logical by nature, and women are more emotional. So sometimes their emotions are going to take over, and it's your job as a man to say, hold on, let's rewind here. Let's take it back a notch and say, this is what you want from a man. Unfortunately for you, there's certain things that means that you need to let me be a man, and you might not like it. And that's the Rocky part. I do dumb shit all the time, because right? I'm 100%. I do stuff that might seem dumb to her, like fighting, stepping in a ring. That sounds dumb to most people, yet I've done it for years. Why? Because I needed to prove it to myself that I could do it. I needed to break that mental barrier to say that I can stand up for what I believe in, and if shit happens, I will be able to do something. Is it dumb?
And that's at the core masculinity.
Bro, I wasn't. But I was an engineer.
I have to do it just for you, not for a reason. For you, you need to.
But and that's the thing. But as a guy that was an engineer that paid my life with my head, for the average person, that sounds extremely dumb. You're like, why are you going to risk brain injury in order to go fight when you really don't need to? But I need to as a man. I need to know that I can protect my family. I need to prove it for myself.
I will
not
say
to anybody else, for me.
Yes, and any man that feels the need to do that should do that, right? Like
100%.
I'm ex-military, right? And I used to hang around and fuck around with all the Rangers because I was a generator mechanic, but I had to support MI that supported them. So every time I come to the barracks, there's always fucking two guys rolling on the floor, beating each other up for fun, just learning moves or whatever. So the things that I learned and the things that I feel secure in myself were based on survival instincts, right? Where a boxing ring or a cage is really about using your will as a man and a particular skill set. So there's a certain beauty that comes with participating in a combat sport, because you're not just fighting for your life, even though 76% of the people in the cage do at some point feel like they're fighting for their life. They did a survey and they said 76% of them think I could fucking die if if I'm not careful here. So I appreciate that. But from your specific perspective, if a man feels the need to do that, do that. But don't put this unnecessary pressure that he has to. You could do it the Ranger way. Learn some stuff, how to survive, basic survival. Like I might rip someone's eyeball out. That's not legal in boxing, right? I might rip someone's nutsack off. Then, groin shots are illegal, right? So there are certain things where someone's threatening my life or my family or whatever, and think that I'm supposed to have rules, maybe they might not think I'm a man, but my manhood, is so, you understand what I'm saying? It's very, very colorful. And you got a great foundational point it's like this foundation where you can build parts on the building because the foundation's strong enough. Me and Rob, we can build it 100th floor in examples.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like the guy who climbed Mount Everest. But just back to your point about like you have to do something as a man. He was Sir Edmund Hillary, his name was. He was asked, "Why did you do it? Why did you climb Everest?" And he said, "Because it was there." I mean, where would we be as a species if we didn't have that mindset that just did something not for profit, not for money, not for pussy, but just because there's something in the male psyche that just needs to do something sometimes, and I think that has guided human civilization. And I think it's okay. There's, like Nico has said, we are different fundamentally. And if nothing else, that's what transgenderism has taught us. There are just fundamental differences. I think partly the pitfall that we got over the last couple of decades is this idea that men and women are fundamentally the same. The only differences are socially constructed ones. And that is wrong. We are fundamentally different. Doesn't mean one is above the other. We are, equal in that sense. And like you said, Nico, the men and women are sort of our strength and weaknesses complement each other. I think a good analogy.
I love the word compliment.
Yeah. Is the Nico
we don't
said
complete each other.
Job.
You don't complete each other.
Said,
you complement each other. Yeah,
exactly. Nico had said it's a man's job to lead. Now you can imagine there's a lot of people who would take that and say, "Oh, so you think you're better than women? You think it's your?" No, I don't think that's. I know that's not what you're saying. Fact of the matter is, if a man leads, his wife or his partner will be more comfortable in following, as long as she knows that he has her best interests at heart. He will always make decisions for her and her family. And that is, at its heart, healthy masculinity. It's seeking and accepting that responsibility. And that's what's missing today.
And Nico, is that in the book of Matthew? Men love your women like Christ loved the church?
Oh, yeah.
Is that Matt? I wonder if that's.
I don't know if it's in Matthew, but it is.
I don't know if it's in Matthew
for sure.
Yeah, but Jesus did say that love your women the way life. As long as you treat it like that, it'll feel like an equal relationship because
exactly. We only get into trouble when the man leading it is a shitty person, is not a good person, makes decisions for him and his family that is not in their best interest. But as long as everyone lives up to their bargain, if you want to call it, their end of the deal, it works. And I think the things that are men are strong at, that is the thing that like I said, our strengths and weaknesses with women complement each other. If you want to use an analogy of the body, men, you could say men are the brain and women are the heart. It would be a nonsensical question to say what's more important, the heart or the brain. You can't live without either. We need both.
What's the point?
When men will buy a home, a woman will make it. A man will buy a house, a woman will make it a home. And one example I use 100%. And one thing I use as an example all the time is look at who holds families together. It's never a man, it's a woman. Women are always the glue that holds family together. They shouldn't be together because they always disagree. They're always pissed off at each other. But there's a woman, there's a matriarch somewhere that is just, let's make it work.
Isn't that wild?
It makes, look at it this way. You look at, I come from an engineering background, so I can speak to this for my private life. More than 90% of people in engineering are men. Because we come from logic, because our brain is more logical by nature. Yet there's a study that came out of University of Ottawa in Canada years ago. It was saying that we had crossed about 60% of people in health, not only nurses here or assistant, health fields like doctors, surgeons. It did not matter. Just as a whole, we were crossing 60% of them were women. And I guarantee you, give it another 20 years, it's going to become 90% to 90%. In the same way as 75 to 80% of teachers are women. It's going to be the same because women care. Men love things. Women love people. And this is a beautiful thing.
I love the home analogy.
But one is not better than the other. It's just different. We are just different people. And I wanted to bring that because you said something, Rob, earlier that's 100% true, and it goes back to old Greek mythology. Like if you look at the movie 300, the Spartans, if at the beginning of the movie they talk about the way they raise their boys from 0 to 5. He is 100% with his mother. Why? Because he needs to learn emotional intelligence, which is something that women can teach their sons. Right. But at the age of 5 or 6, you understand this? Let's fucking go. You're out. The feminine energy is completely removed, and you are drenched in a world of violence because we are supposed to be the protector. Just like your son. That's why your son's coming up to you naturally around 10, 12. He's like, hey, okay, I need something different. His heart knows.
He completely started gravitating towards me around that age. Like we never talked about it.
But you don't need to. This is just innate. Exactly. So you have the woman that taught him that. That's why nuclear family is the number one thing for a community. You need to have both. And if you're one of those families where the woman's raising a boy by themselves, it is your job as a woman. I'm talking to you right now. If you have a son and there's no men around, it's your fucking job to find one. It's your job to find him somebody that he can relate to. It doesn't need to be a husband. It can be a brother, it can be an uncle, can be a cousin. You don't want him to grow up. Yeah. You don't want him to grow up the way I grew up.
No, and you don't want him looking for one, right? You don't want a kid that
That's what I did.
Nobody's looking for.
That's what I did.
They might find the wrong one.
It's usually going to be the wrong one.
They might. What the fuck did I know at 14 years old what a man was? What the fuck did I know? I dropped out of school. I became a drug addict. I was an alcoholic. I was a thief. I sold drugs. I alienated everybody around me. And that didn't change until my early 20s. Right. But you know what? It happened almost day to day when my father left. It's very interesting. You remove that component. My mother, even though she was military, she could never prevent me from doing those things. She didn't have the physical power even when I was 14 to do that. My father, if my son as a
about
bigger
that dad
guy,
energy, right?
Hey, you and I are going to talk. You and I have to talk. It's not an option. Let's go.
And that's
there's power to that.
It's a team. It's a partnership. We need both. And that's with a lot of this sort of, again, this tends to be left-wing coded. This idea, I think, going back to the Marxism idea we talked about, you could say one of the main critiques is Marxism is attempting to destroy the family unit, the nuclear family, and whether it's intentional or
by
not,
government.
that's the end result.
It is,
and that's not.
Sorry, Rob.
It always is.
I was the recipient of something you call the perfect storm, right? My real father I never met, but it was more important from ages 1 to 5 for me to spend time with my mom. And let me tell you something, working full-time and going to school full-time, and you had to give up sleep because for me to still see her face and for her to do that, I'm telling you, just one of the strongest people I ever met. And right now we're not talking, but I'm not an idiot. I respect where that came from. So she married again when I was 10. And this man was an iron worker, old school, like slicked his, like Humphrey Bogart, like how the old school actors used to have their hair, combed his hair, did his hair that way. And this man worked Monday through Thursday, 50 hours as an iron worker and as a welder, doing blueprints and all that stuff. And then Friday and Saturday, he created his own company called Mobile Weld, where we would, do security gates for windows. We would do like those little gates surrounding the trees in Central Park, like on the Upper East Side, Manhattan, 72nd Street, from Central Park all the way to the river. All of the gates surrounding the trees. That's me and my father. We did those. And
nice, that's amazing.
Like Nico said, this man wore a uniform. And he was there every day on time because he had to do that, because this is what men do. And I'm only sharing this because as a coach, I coach juniors or whatever, and I bring that to any girls or boys team I coach. I'm like, my father did that because he didn't have a choice. There was no dichotomy or trichotomy. That was his only option. Be a man, take care of your family. And I said, here you guys are. And I said, you're here because no one's making you be here. You choose to be here. Right. And if you choose to be here, bring that same energy. But I always cite as a pretext the person that I sat on the porch with every night after work. He smoked cigarettes, and we talk. We'd have, we get fat off of fucking Haagen-Dazs. And the quality time I spent with this man, I didn't go to Little League. I went with him because I learned how to read blueprints. I would cut the steel, he would weld, I'd paint, and he'd collect the money. It was our, so my quality time with my stepfather, and I don't like stepfather because I never met my real father.
He's like your dad, like for all intents and purposes, right? Yeah.
But I knew Nico would appreciate the story because you guys were talking about the social science and the correlation between the mother being there in the beginning and then looking for that male figure. So I was the recipient of what we would call the perfect storm, give or take minus 2 years, 8 to 12 years old. But everything as far as being a gentleman, holding seat for women, addressing people as sir or ma'am. This is way before the military. I learned from this fantastic, this guy that's not a millionaire, entrepreneur, playboy, but at the same time, Captain America said, I know guys that are none of those things worth 10 of you. He's talking about that man. His name is Bernard Gingrich.
That's a beautiful story. And it's such, the thing is, as a kid, you probably didn't realize you were getting taught these lessons, right? It was just, hanging out with pops at the end of the day. You only see it as an adult. But when you look back and see it, you see it, how important that is. Your life would have gone completely different if you never had that influence in your life. And you don't have to be a teacher as the man. Just be there, be present, lean into your duty. And that's at the heart of, we use the term masculinity, but that's really what we're talking about, duty, that sense of this is mine. This is my family. This is my, I guess, stepson. And I'm the same way. My mom remarried when I was a kid. So it was a stepdad for me too. And, I don't look at him as a stepdad. He's just my father. But like Nico said, if you're a single mom, it doesn't, ideally it's the kid's dad. It does not have to be. It could be the kid's uncle. It could go to big brothers and big sisters if you have to.
But Nico's warning was, if you're a single mom, find a fucking man for your kid.
But hold on,
because women, no matter how much they love you,
there's one thing I forgot to say. But there's one thing I forgot to say. If your son wants to see his father, do not prevent him. Because that is not on you. That is not on you. That I want to make sure that I should have specified it. But if that person is not there, if the man is not there because he doesn't want to, he's dead.
Father is always
reason
the
might
best
be.
option.
But the father, this is what, my parents separated when I was young. My mother remarried eventually. Great guy. But I'm starting to realize that she prevented my father from seeing me. As an adult, I'm seeing the way that our relationship is together, the way she treats me now. And I'm like, maybe he wasn't the evil that you made him to be because he cheated on her when they were young. Something you never forgive, and you said you put it on your kids. So this is something you don't want to do that either, because even though the relationship might not have worked between two individuals, that has nothing to do with raising a son.
Even
so we got to be very careful.
If you love your son, you know he needs that.
It's not about the ex, it's about your son. You're absolutely right. It's about the son, not the ex. But yeah, it's man, this is something we could go down for. We could speak about this shit for hours. But
bro, it's a theme I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot.
We're 3 hours in. We just pulled the Joe Rogan.
Yeah, we did. I'd like permission to put this.
We haven't even gotten into our topics, really.
I'd like permission to put this on iTunes and Spotify. I don't know if you have. Do you have this available?
We do have.
Oh yeah.
Available too.
I'll give it all to you afterwards. I'll give you the source files if you want. No problem.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good conversations here.
Yeah. We thank you, Nico, for allowing me to drive us off the cliff a little bit, just enough where I didn't go too far where no one knew what the hell I was talking about. Brought it back. And,
but bro, thanks for commenting last week. Thanks for being an asshole about our name, because that changed everything, man. But it was good. Your comments started it all, man.
The godfather of the show.
I like that. I like that. And I appreciate you guys. This is for everybody listening. These are three guys, three different walks of life, three different political ideologies, having this conversation like a bunch of fellas. And I wish everybody the same kind of happiness. I'm a happy guy today for being on this podcast.
This has been a great day. Appreciate you. Appreciate you both. Appreciate the audience. Who, guys, still listening. It's been a slog for sure.
Yeah.
And now I'm headed to a cigar. I'm going to cigar place, having a drink and a cigar. So this is as good as a day as it comes.
I'm gonna piss Nico off. I'm going to Starbucks to have a girly drink.
You're not pissing. You know, bro.
Pumpkin spice latte. Speaking of masculinity.
Are you going there with your boyfriend?
The latte.
Are you going,
baby?
Bro? Are you going there with your boyfriend, or is he home?
Is
he not there? Yeah, exactly.
Nico, it was just one dick.
Bro, getting your dick sucked is not gay.
Oh, remember that? Harold and Kumar.
Sucking a dick is gay. Getting your dick sucked ain't gay.
Wait a second. All the guards at Gitmo are gay? He's like, fuck no. Ain't nothing gay about getting your dick sucked. You're the one going down. You're the one who's gay. And I think all
you repulse me. You're disgusting. It's Big Bob. Big Bob is awesome. Big Bob is great. But
boys,
man, guys.
Hey guys. Great weekend.
Yeah, sorry. Nico.
Have a good weekend. But guys, if you like the show, make sure to follow us on X, Real Nico Lagan, the show, The Poly Orphans. Make sure to follow Rob the Builder. If you want to check us out on YouTube, we're there too. So at The Poly Orphans. And brother Jason, put your YouTube out there.
NY Varsity Sports started as a beach volleyball thing. It's still beach volleyball and sports dominant, but people like my political takes. So I've been doing, pre and post election stuff. Yeah, a very interesting guest, Olympic gold medalist, NCAA champ. So just interviews with some of the elite athletes and their thoughts.
That's really cool.
And he also has great suggestions for homo drinks at Starbucks.
Dude, yes.
Yeah.
It was just one day. I'll see you guys later.
Just one dick is not gay. All right, guys.